My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. See thepatternofconduct.wordpress.com.
21278W1. This is a demon touching with directed light while they're group stalking on Hope Boulevard. 8SKD366. A third-party facilitating venue, Rich's Second Jewelry and Loan. The Ontario Boxing Club. The headquarters for this minion that was running for office, where I've documented the fake sun over me in the middle of the afternoon, which is in conflict with being over me inside of the Public Library, by the way, and the Fontana Lewis Library, etc. 5ETP852. They're touching with directed light. 8KCN626, and they're demons that are stalking with light. And that is understanding what the demon possessed do. While the entity keeps the fake sun stalking with light, the demon possessed stalk with light while they cross path. 8UWE274. License 8JCN364. And it's 8:32 a.m. License 7YVN123. An Amtrak vehicle 46357. That's the number on the top of that coach vehicle that's crossing path driving west on Hope Boulevard right now at 8:32 a.m. 8ZY8363. Trail of directed light behind their car. 7DYZ551. 186. I can't say that. 7E. 8MV182. 8ZDT921. 7RIW382. And it is 8:33 a.m. And so the iterations of the same exact conduct, stalking with light, the entity is doing this by the demon-possessed entity is engaging in this, which you see through the environment, stalking with a light source over my head, stalking through the environment with what is directed light, as I show you on the roads and on the highways, on the sidewalk. And I'm showing you what is light that is inexplicably present. It's just sitting there, and there's no light source where the entity is engaged. Oh, that's supposedly sunlight. It's not even that. It's appearing in the shade, for example. It's appearing in between two objects where there's no, I'm good. There's no a light source present for, well, let me document on trends. License 1545797, bus 2341. There's no light source present. There's no, there's a shade that's where this light is appearing. I've shown you this on buildings, on inside of buildings. That's what you saw inside of the Stater Brothers at 8228 Sierra Avenue. That's a light that's appearing on the ceiling, and it's also, you've also seen this inside of 646 West Holt Stater Brothers, and this is inside of the depths of the grocery store, not just in the middle of their grocery store, above the shopping aisles, where again demons are standing in line stalking by buying things at the grocery store. And you look above them, what do you see? Directed light, impossible light. Sunlight is not reaching underneath those doors and then just plastering itself above. You're witnessing the presence of Satan. Satan is present through the environment. Satan is present through people. And this is how you're understanding those very demons engaging in conduct as though they're perplexed as to what it is, why it is that you are documenting. Which, by the way, their very focus of what you're doing on your phone is also evidence of what they are and what they're doing. All right, you're talking about what is an unpersuasive act in every regard. That light is absolutely abnormal. And then you are talking about disregarding the environment that's abnormal around them and focusing on you, which is actually very normal, to capture what is an entirely peculiar and very spooky environment. All right, well, they're stalking you, okay, in other words. You're talking about what is iterations of stalking with light. The demon possessed are crossing paths while they're driving on the street in directed light, streaming behind and streaming across toward me while they are group stalking. That is an iteration of stalking with light. The demon possessed do that. They are mimicking what is going on in the environment, the demonic environment. And when the entity is keeping the fake sun today over me on Hope Boulevard and crossing path in this directed light is coming toward me while they are group stalking. That's what crossing path is. Driving by, walking by, living in relevant position where I'm walking by and the entity's keeping a fake sun over me while you are living in relevant position. That is serving what is the pattern of conduct, and you are a demon stalking with light. The entity has provided the ability for every single last demon-possessed individual, because that's exactly what they are. That's why the environment is present. This is what I'm speaking to. It is a precise formula in every single way, whether you are remaining stationary and the targeted individual is coming to where it is that you are located, for example, you live or you work there, and the targeted individual is coming toward, well, the entity is falling with a whole environment. The entire environment is facilitating an ongoing system that is in no way hindered. In addition to that, you have what are the demons themselves that are maintaining presence all around you, facilitating that and repeating it over and over again, stalking with light. That's what the whole sex offense is about, the perpetual sex offender. They are always molesting with light, surrounding you with what is this engineered light, because this is the criminal system of surveillance with communication devices is relying upon this presence of this light, and these demons are engaged in obsessive stalking with it and through it and by it. License 6NTA439, group stalking at the Vine and Hope Boulevard intersection. License plate 5ZEW786-22826H2. And it's 8:37 a.m. And so you have what our understanding, you're looking at, I've explained, I've shown you, I've documented what you are, the untrained eye, witnessing what appears to be different. For example, the fake sun different from directed light inside of a venue? It's not different. They're both methods of stalking with light, the engineered light, okay? And it is occurring through what is an impossible environment. You go to, in other words, you're going to the extent to keep an entirely fake environment around me in order to keep this light. 56108R2 and THEBUGG. And that's also, again, how you're identifying that system because it's not the actual sun that is supported by scientific evidence. That is not the sun, based on scientific evidence, okay? RNP 4561, based on scientific facts. It is not the sun. And it's also not sunlight, all right? And like I said, science supports what the entity is doing with directed light, what the entity is doing under what I've termed the fake sun. Science supports that. Science does not support what Satan is doing in the environment and amongst the people. It is that which has never been addressed. It's that which has never been documented in order that it would be in a form of literally a body of evidence that is incontrovertible. All right, you're talking about what are allegations that are unsubstantiated by the ordinary target individual who does not have any way to establish what it is that they're alleging, even if they even have the ability to articulate what the entity is doing, all right, what they're subject to. License plate 44615K3 paper. All right, and so you're talking about what science is in support of everything that I'm documenting. That is not possibly the sun. It is termed correctly, the fake sun. There is no scientific evidence ever supporting what I've documented just last night and today, which is my documentation over a term of years. The entity keeping a light source over the same address, the same intersection in the evening as though the sun is setting right there, and doing so also, which happens to be the absence of coincidence, where I am located. And also, I'm not just capturing that light source, I'm capturing the engineered light, the light that they drive through, that they walk through, that does not in any way disappear when you walk through it. That's not light. That's not speaking to light that's coming from the sun. That's speaking to what is engineered light. Science supports what it is that I've documented in a body of evidence for purposes of prosecution. And that's what I'm speaking to. This is not some, I would say, unsubstantiated allegations. The entity is engaging in conduct, not only in this environment, but then you're stalking day in and day out, okay? Thousands of videos of the entity stalking by a helicopter, for example. That is directly relevant to what I'm showing with regard to stalking with light. It's directly relevant. It's highly peculiar, and you're talking about what is not going to be disregarded, and it's not reasonably disregarded, the fact that that is coexisting in what is an environment that is also suspect. All right, so you're talking about what it is, and all I'm doing is connecting the dots for you about what I've already done, all right, what is already published. and what legal analysis, what legal reasoning is calls for, okay? So this is not pulling things out of the sky like the entity does, directed light, but the entity is engaging in conduct which it is serving for its own demise. You are stalking with directed light. You are literally telling on yourself. Directed light is direct evidence. It shall be direct evidence of the prima facie case of federal group stalking and monitoring, because it in and of itself is an impossible occurrence. It's not sunlight. It's the evidence that you are subject to that criminal system. And this is what the people of the state of California have provided years of documentation of stalking in and around, literally engaging in what is kind of like they're spitting out light. All right, and I'm putting it into those terms because they are cockroaches who are disgusting stalkers. They're sick people. And while I'm capturing, for example, 10 to 20 videos in the past few days of the entity stalking by helicopter, you need to understand that's the people of the state of California that are stalking with that state. It's not separate. 50133B3. That's a system of group stalking. And so, and just like I stated in my video last night, do not forget this demon at 7-Eleven at 204 North Euclid Avenue, where this demon that is representing Amazon Prime, which is the people of the state who is monitoring. This is the government that's stalking by helicopter. All it's doing is using the Amazon Prime logo. All right, and to you on the surface, you're supposed to think, oh, this is different. This is another. No, it's the same entity who is then engaging in the conduct of what is highly malicious, a psychopath. Why are you recording? 7VXF846, they're group stalking with that same exact government. It is not in any way separate while the entity is flying over me 40 to 50 times in the night, following me even during the day, group stalking by helicopter and planes and police. And then you're documenting that same exact entity who is in that specific environment, the impossible. Like, this is being surrounded by the evidence. And that's what I'm saying. You're witnessing the presence of evil. You are in the presence of evil, and you're witnessing a delusional psychopath. And that is Satan. All right, so like I said, it's currently 8:42 a.m. I am at what is Ontario Village. You're sounding, you can hear the entity sounding train activity that is relevant to what is the directed light that I'm being molested by, following with that light source. This is how the system is underway. All righty, and so it's currently 8:43 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, you have the state of California, and also you have a demon-possessed group stalker that is stalking inside of the bathroom of 646 West Holt. This is Stater Brothers, and this is the same exact Stater Brothers who has a light source that is not possibly the sun at this time, 8:47 a.m. Recall my presence in California. Recall my presence in Fontana, California, where I've already been at the Fontana Metro train station, and I'm proceeding north up Sierra Avenue, where I am en route to what is Chino as well. The entity is keeping where I remain in Upland. For example, at the 7-Eleven, the same 7-Eleven where the entity is placing the light source over me in the evening and touching inside of that 7-Eleven. The entity is stalking with light, and then you have stalking into the bathroom. This is the state of California, just like I showed you at the museum, a group stalker maintaining presence everywhere that I go, and maintaining presence as the entity. That's the sex offender. And doing so in the very venue where the entity is plastering directed light above the ceiling, above these stalkers who are inside making purchases, on the walls where the produce aisle is. This is what I've documented, and they're stalking in a bathroom. That's activity creation. That's obsession. And this obsession falls into the private space, all right, where the entity is stalking, engaging in surveillance. This is interstate stalking in a bathroom. It's 8:48 a.m. Oh, also Pomona. En route on documenting my presence en route to Pomona and in Pomona. Alrighty, it is 9:04 a.m. 8HUL 968. License 31386XY 7YOU 198. This is a Latino male engaged in bathroom monitoring. 33433C2 8XSZ 510. The same for this one, green Tacoma. They pull out as I walk out. They're touching with directed light, and they're also engaged in bathroom monitoring. 6268OU2 6KSZ055. 5SRH938, 5LJX049, license 7GJN751, 8XXE415, 8LZU546, 8ZNT336, 5VAN304, VALJEEP, 7F78731, 5ESA087, 4SXH842, 7WAY724, 8MLY444, 8XLP309, 5W28, it's like 916 I believe, 5W28 816, 7TLZ 535, and 8YVS 131, 8XVX 277, 7GBY 518, 8WGL 557, 7GCL 592. And it's 9:05 a.m. AA10926 is an out-of-state license plate on a gray Toyota 4Runner. License. TJN 627 14129U1 8NVU 561 8WGL 557 8ZXX 112 6ZXN 563 8UCP 637 8RZU 287 97589B1 3PJF 251 6WLH 318 8P81711 7NIN 158 36392C1. I think I read that one perhaps. 8YBS 839 091350Z2 31306X1 8WEE 830. I think I read those. 7GJN 751. It's currently 9:07 a.m. 8VGA 715, 8HUL 968, 7EZA 812, 8WGM 297, 23336J1, 5RLT 040. Alrighty, license 8HUL 968. Capturing the fake sun over me at 9:07 a.m., reminding you about my presence in Montclair in California, and mutually exclusive to that in Fontana at the John Roberts Fire Station at 9:07 a.m. in front of the fire station. And as I capture in video, and then you have Alaska Airlines, and you have Safeguard on Demand, stalking in the path of light activity, communication device in hand, engaging in what is harassment as I'm documenting. 8WGM 297, while the people are pacing, they're being the cockroaches that they are, crawling around me in directed light, touching with directed light, and they're also demons stalking with the state as the state, while my panties are down in the bathroom inside of Stater Brothers. 23336J1. License 5WLP 754. It is currently 9:14 a.m. 8EEY 240, 4UDB 428. And that harassment by the entity engaging in federal stalking, literally while the entity is hovering over the Ontario Village Shopping Center, literally in what is the directed light, okay? This is the psychopath that is engaging in the criminal act and then wants to, engages in what is harassment. You're going straight to federal prison for that. And this is what the entity does day in and day out. That's a threat though. Understand that, because you're dealing with what is going to be analyzed as a very dangerous threat, one that is delusional. Okay, so you're talking about somebody who was caught with the knife dripping with blood in their hand, and they are conducting themselves outwardly as though they are not caught red-handed engaging in that criminal act. That's someone that is demonstrating that their mindset is unbalanced. All right, that they are engaged in determination to continue engaging in the crime, 8XSZ510, an impersonated crime, one speaking to what is their condition as well, a demon-possessed, delusional, and unbalanced psychopath, 97589B1. All of this is demonstrated through the conduct, all right, through the words that are coming out of their mouth, which is also audible activity, accomplishing monitoring. That's how you're going to analyze all of that. 3VUB569, license 7SMB139, and that is the reasonable conclusions based on what one is engaging in, their acts, what they're doing. All right, and you're talking about what is a comprehensive state system. So you're holding the knife dripping with blood, and then you're standing there with a straight face as though, "Hi, Susie Q, would you like to buy some cookies?" Like there's no blood, like there's no knife in your hand, like nobody sees that. Okay, that's a psychopath. Okay, 8FVD163. This is what the entity is doing, and they're threatening you in your face. That's a threat. That's not just someone who is demonstrating that they're unbalanced, that they're delusional. All right, that they engage in what is that? That's a picture of malice. That's somebody who is also showing an ongoing determination to continue engaging in stabbings. Okay, that's what that's demonstrating. 8YHG120. It is 9:16 a.m. 8BSKO39, 8DLB403, 4XNR151, 8EZN150, 7ENY531, Heart 101MEE, 04744B3, 7WEM064, 04744B3. I don't think this has a license plate on it. Yeah, it doesn't have a license plate on it. Alrighty, license 46355 D2 8B71293, 6WSU 517, 5WNH340, 8JYJ 593, 8ZTT 339, 8TNH058, 8BAE990, 6ZYN 852, 8VJD621, 8VUD593, 7FGS 744, 6FTC281, 4XPS 857, 98KT 907, BC76Y87 paper, 7PXJ 856, 00976J3. Those are demons. The entity is following with an entire environment. That does not stop as I leave the venue of the Stater Brothers in the Ontario Village Shopping Center. It is speaking to what is an ongoing pattern of conduct. And in that regard as well, they're the same entity that's engaging in surveillance where I'm sleeping, stalking as the state, stalking by helicopter. They're doing so in their own cars. 7VMS 077, which you're also witnessing while impossible light activity coexists with their crossing of path conduct. These are demons stalking with light. It is the confession. It is the demonstration of their condition that is demon possession, which is evidence for their prosecution, by the way. 16QJ 792, 7TLA 627. License 7BYG 503. What you're paying attention to is as I am capturing this fake sun over my head inside of the village, of the Ontario Village Shopping Center at the Stater Brothers, for example, you are witnessing what is the impossible placement of the sun, and how is this in addition to what I spoke to, the Fontana station number 71, Fontana Fire Station number 71 in Fontana. And also, for example, another example, I mean, there is more than those two, but those are the two that I drew on. Montclair, last Sunday when I went to Montclair, and I'm sitting inside of the Starbucks, I'm sitting in the window, and I'm documenting these demons as their group stalking through the drive-thru. The entity is aiming directed light inside of the venue, 8Y99303. The fake sun is over my head through that window. That is not over my head in front of the Habit as I'm in the parking lot of Ontario Village in Ontario, California. All right, so you're talking about what is group stalking, and that's clearly underway, captured through the environment. You have what is the entity that is placing its fake sun at that location at the Ontario Village at 7:04 p.m. The light source is not that west in any way whatsoever. That is the light source that is at 9:07 a.m. as I'm capturing that video. That is more west on this street than it is at 7:04 p.m. The light source is right over, for example, it's when I'm capturing the video last night at 7:04 and the video last night the night before last night, which is approximately the same time, 7:04, 7:05 p.m. as I'm on Route 83 going southbound. The light source is essentially over Rich's 2nd Jewelry and Loan, right there at the intersection of Laurel and Hope Boulevard. It is not over in the Ontario Village Shopping Center. And by the way, that is not the case it's also not the case while the entities keep that big sun moving southward over me, in order for it to be aiming into the 7-Eleven, across the counter, into the aisles. All right, directed light conduct, which is not sunlight under any circumstances, but this is the system of that the entity engages in, 7VEB147, and that light source over Stater Brothers is in a location that is more west than it is at 7:04 p.m. by the way, when it remains in perfect alignment on that same street, by the way, Hope Boulevard. That's everything that you're paying attention to. In addition to what I'm telling you about, what is not a mutual zenith. The sun is not at the same time over the John B. Roberts Fire Station number 71 in that same manner as I captured right now at 9:07, standing in front of Stater Brothers at 646 West Hall in Ontario, California. The same plaza where I'm standing there at 7:50 in the morning, and the fake sun does not remain there at that intersection. It remains over me. That's how I'm documenting the group stalking conduct by the Montclair Police Department at Central and Hope Boulevard at 8:31 a.m. I'm capturing the fake sun over me at 4500 Hope Boulevard at the intersection of Ramona at the 7-Eleven at 8:35 a.m. where I'm arriving at that intersection, the same intersection where I don't arrive until 2:22 in the afternoon. And Amazon Prime is group stalking flying over my head under what? That same fake sun that's over my head right now at 9:07 a.m. All right, 2:22 in the afternoon, the fake sun remains still in that same exact central position over my head. That's all day. That's an example right there. It's an impossibility. The sun is not remaining over everyone's head, in other words, in that same central position all day long, no matter where you're at. That's stalking. 03263D3. That's stalking with light, and demons are stalking as well. License BG25C90 paper. This is P.O.C. All right, so I just want to point all that out to you, everything that you are cognizant of while I'm capturing another video of what is absolutely impossible. And what is occurring while that impossible occurrence is underway? Alaska Airlines is hovering, as though they're taking off over the Ontario Village. No, they're not. They're not taking off at all. They're group stalking, hovering the crossing path. And that is doing so while I'm pointing out very damning points. The fact that that's not the sun that's at the same time 9:07 a.m. over me in the city of Fontana and over me in the side of the cafe of Starbucks in Montclair, California. And those are just two examples. The entity immediately engages in stalking with directed light. That's what Safeguard on Demand does with their hazard lights, while then engaging in what is harassment. All of that is audible activity where that minion is monitoring, and then doing so while the directed light is all around on the ground and the entity is hovering by aircraft. While I'm pointing out those very damning patterns, that's the pattern by the entity. In addition to it being just ordinary monitoring, those are the elements of monitoring. HCRZ271. But again, as I'm pointing those facts out, the entity immediately engages in what is hovering around. The entity was already stalking by a plane. It was already there. All right. The moment I start talking about Fontana, John Roberts, 9:07 a.m. published documentation, take a look at that. Take a look at where I'm at inside of the Starbucks, because I'm still sitting there. All right, last Sunday, I'm still sitting inside of that cafe. I remain there, and I'm capturing video after video. The fake sun remains right there outside of the window. Over my head inside of the Ontario Village is not outside of the window on the east side of Starbucks at 4490 Hope Boulevard in Montclair, California. 690RZ handicap, 6ANT680, 8WYZ966. And that is speaking to the ongoing group stalking conduct of every single last person, which is why I've documented thousands of people in the state, because they're all stalking together. That ongoing environment is following all day long. Guess who else is following? The demon-possessed people of the state, HCPZ 504, following into the bathroom. That's exactly what I documented. Federal stalking by the entity inside of the bathroom, a private space, a sexually violent pattern of conduct. 8JIV 252, 5EKC 474, 8BDV 046, 7FWG 947, 6HHX 954, 6XTZ 104. 8JSV 432, 8GJS 732, 8TPC 550, 6BGE 911, 3PIU 570, 4HKB 710, 8J90630, 4ZYL 357, 8HBX 556. And it is 9:26 a.m. License 8RSA 718, 98BA 541, 16641L2, 8UPD 765, 97700K3. TIC 113, 8MCL 245, 7HSN036, 76390R1, 8XRP146, BG08A11 paper, 9ALS591, 7TJB034, 8ZUC724, 8EZJ478, 9AIP443, Eagles Airy, group stalking, and the license plate of this minion that's at this third-party facilitating venue, stalking in the path, 92354K2. License 3WTF739. BN76B98 paper plate. 768NE handicap. 6NIW316. 6ZBY842. 6YVC821. 7L89332. Wow, 5UBS930, they're stalking to the degree of stalking and stopping in the middle of the street. License 5XPB578 in order to maintain presence in the path. Anyway, 6RET746, 8ZWY793, 7WPB156, 86848J2, I believe, 8YCT599. 43ABEB, that's Florida. $5EX, I can't really see that one. It's 9:29 a.m. License plate. Capturing what is surveillance as you're witnessing the people of the state via TXRANGR, doing so in direct lighted under the fake sun. TG, that's license TG44962. That's harassment by an entity, engaging in what is a molestation, engaging in what is corporate surveillance on behalf of the state. And I did it at the same, I'm capturing this video at the same intersection where you're seeing the fake sun. That's exactly what it is. As I'm pointing out what's not occurring at the same time, what's impossible while I'm in Fontana. All right, while I remain in Genome, California, while I'm on public transportation en route to the city, the sun is not maintaining that perfect alignment with me. The entity is stalking with that light source as it's going southbound in the direction that I'm going on Route 83. And as I get off at the intersection of Euclid and Hall, which is where I stand now in front of the venue where the entity places its fake sun in perfect alignment with me as I stand at this same intersection. You're looking at this video at 9:30 in the morning, the fake sun is right over my head. And in the evening, where I'm standing at that intersection where I'm facing, the fake sun is right over the building that I'm standing in front of. And what you are looking at, big picture, you're taking a step back, what is impossible under both circumstances. You're talking about what is the light source that is feet away from the same position on the same street in alignment with me, and you're talking about a vast difference in time, 7 p.m. versus what I'm capturing right now, which is 9 a.m. And not only that, I got up and showed you the fake sun that's directly over me as I'm at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. So that is speaking to what is the P.O.C. And this sex offender, TXRANGR, this is the people that are stalking in the bathroom. Okay, that's the identification of that group stalker that's group stalking in the bathroom. This is group conduct, engaging in what is surveillance in concert and on behalf of the state, and doing so as the people. Okay, so that's the same exact conduct, engaging in surveillance, doing so in the specific environment, doing so on behalf of the public entity. Okay, this is not individualized. This is group conduct. It's government conduct. All right, and the entity is acting through the people, and this is exactly what Texas Ranger, that's that license plate, is engaging in surveillance and doing so in plain sight. I don't know who the entity thinks that it is, but I'm letting you know, this is the grounds of federal prison, and that's exactly what I documented, and that's exactly where that minion is going. The government shall not engage in that conduct. Even under existing federal law, the government would be subject to federal prison. The people of the state shall be subject to federal prison, engaging in that same unlawful threat on behalf of that government. 8ZKM411. And the entity acts with impunity while, understand, Texas Rangers going to federal prison also because they're sitting there monitoring every word that I'm saying, aware of it, and continuously engaging in stalking, which is the pattern of conduct by the people of the state. This is what they're doing as an entity, together. That's what they're doing, stalking at the museum where I'm sleeping, listening to every word. They know that they're being documented. And that's the government that does not have a past. The government will be subject to federal prison, engaging in interstate stalking in the ways in which that it does, engaging in the pattern of conduct in ways that are surpassing and intend to intimidate, harass, and or injure. The entity has engaged in all of the above. Group stalking via police, planes, and helicopters, and doing it amongst the people, which is shown through the environment where it's facilitating the ability for them to do so. And it also reveals their condition, which is unprecedented in and of itself. All right, relevant to the prosecution for this never contemplated crime. This is speaking to what would be grounds of federal prison. What is grounds of federal prison for the government itself acting directly, and also for the government that's acting vicariously, which is the group stalking conduct. And that's exactly what TXSRANGR, Texas Ranger, just committed on camera as I documented it. 25994W1 4BWT673 8NZE493. These are demons facing one after another under the fake sun. 77327D2 9AEY477. And it is 9:37 a.m. That's 8ROY362. Prosecute that minion for that. Wants attention. 6NIU845 is monitoring with that minion. 7HUG429. 49165H3. And, 9ANY848. 6UMY605. Um, 6HGR315. 7GBH574. 8ETU730. 8UGU219, I believe. No. License 6LYR259. 8MBC809. 8VMA329. 4ZFA616. 8WHR353. 8UIJ491. 7XDL480. 5HEF125. 5TFE465. 8RHP842. 38179G1. 8CTX378. 4112XDX. 7PWT669. 8YWZ521. And it is 9:40 a.m. I think I read it already. 8N08R47 paper. 7LUG29. Yes, 7LGU293, excuse me. 7ZKH711. It's 9:40 a.m. All right, license plate 8LYU949. 2154-2H3. 8KEF599. 25224G2. 8WHA470. 7WGB180. 8YGK837. 6XIY642. 8BBM106. 8FTT005. 8SCM938 molesting. 7AKX572 molesting. 4989. I can't see that one. 7CLK797, and they're all molesting. 5ROU385. 8JGE521 molesting. License 4YQC829. 8RZG676. 8KZH362. 50829V2, and they're molesting, and they're doing so while they're stalking with light. That's what the molestation is about, especially as you walk through shade. Demons are compensating for that absence of light, and they are crossing path with the impossible occurrence of light that is touching my person. That's a sex offender. Okay, and that's what the entity did, by the way, while I was capturing video of the demons at the Ontario Town Square under the fake sun at 9:40 a.m. an absolute impossibility. Not only while I'm in Upland, California at 11th and Euclid Avenue, but the entity keeping a fake sun over me while I remain on public transportation en route to the Fontana Lewis Library, already at the Fontana Lewis Library, etc. That's the P.O.C. 67673Y1. 6GTT900, and that's why you also see under that fake sun the entity stalking with an airline, a commercial airline plane. All right, and that's a molestation that's at Wells Fargo along what is Euclid Avenue and C Street. License 6DKY429. $8GCD889, 7HXA572, 6UFN291, BRAT star 58, 5BNU 616. $8YCU 839, 8AES 095, 8TQW 543, 4LG 2989. It's a commercial vehicle. They're group stalking at Ontario Town Square. 8T76489, 8UXX474. And they are maintaining presence on behalf of the state in concert with the state, that is, acting directly. Those are the demons of the Ontario Police Department. Maintaining joint presence. Monitoring with communication devices together. And what you'll also remember as I'm documenting video at the Ontario Town Square at 9:40 a.m., 2 hours earlier, at 7:50 a.m., I've documented my presence at this same exact venue, which is also speaking to an impossibility. Documented the fake sun in perfect alignment with me at 7:50 in the morning. That is not possible to coexist. Again, I'll remind you, 7:50 in the morning, an entirely distinct location, which would be, for example, the Ontario Airport at Archibald and Archibald and Airport Drive, where I'm on the Route 61 bus. That is not centered over anybody's head at both of those locations at the same time. And one is remaining stationary at the Ontario Town Square at 7:50, and another is in real-time motion on a vehicle where the entity is maintaining, necessarily by movement, maintaining a central presence over my head while I'm on Route 61, which, by the way, the entity is not doing so while I am maintaining presence in Ontario, not getting on any bus. And Route 61 buses are crossing path. That light source isn't moving with that bus as fast as it is when I'm on that bus. And that's movement. That's how you maintain central presence. There's no difference in relativity with regard to the maintenance of that light source when I'm on modes of transportation versus when I'm remaining stationary. You see what is the exact same conduct, the maintenance of a light source. And so this is the family of demons I'm going to show you right now. They're monitoring while the entity is hovering over by aircraft, and the fake sun is right here. It's 9:46 a.m. That is group stalking 101. They are crossing path while the entity concentrates plane activity over the buildings where I'm at, and you see the fake sun over the building where I'm at. And that happens to be in between the senior center and the Open Family Community Library area. That's where I'm walking. It's at 9:47 a.m., and that is P.O.C. They are engaging in what is group stalking while they are holding hands of children, just engaging in what is absolutely satanic, okay? Wicked, weird, demented, sexually violent as well. And also of Satan, while they're engaging in what is on the surface appearing and outing with the family, going to the Ontario Town Square where they're playing nice, lovely little jazz music, which is audible activity, while the entity is engaging in terrorizing, stalking, and airplanes hovering over that venue, and engaging in what is absolutely demented and impossible light activity, while people are supposedly just driving by. This is the pattern of conduct that's underway under any and all circumstances, no matter what the entity is calling itself engaging in. For example, farmers market. That's exactly what these demons are calling this collection of persons, which is relevant positioning in the specific environment. The specific environment is following, and this is where the P.O.C. is underway. It's currently 9:48 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, 6RRD381. Directed light in the back of the vehicle of license 4WON432. That's Tracy Banks. License plate 8FYN913. And at the Upland Village Plaza, the fake sun over me at 5:19 p.m. License 5LIF240. Criminal summoning at what is, looks like 11th Street and Euclid Avenue. That's Upland Police. While the entity is flashing direct light in the back seat of the vehicle. It is currently 5:22 p.m. 5LIF240 is crossing path. 8BQG795. 8FGL213. This is serving what is audible activity. It's not serving any commercial purpose. It's documentation of criminal conduct while she's engaging in it with the people. It is 522 now, going in the opposite direction on Mountain Avenue in Upland, California, at the intersection of 8th Street and Mountain. 8TKC395, 8YZY686, 8YOK868, 7FTL 627, 6JQJ 655, 8MKS 614, 7MBJ 584, 8APC 605. All of these demons crossing paths while the entity flashes directed light in the backseat of this vehicle. They're all group stalking at the streets, at the stoplight, where Upland police are group stalking using light activity on their police vehicles. The fake sun is over me. And again, let me remind you, that's absolutely impossible. This is the P.O.C. Not only what I documented this morning, what continues to exist when you're documenting and capturing the demonic, but also the light source at 5:19 p.m. over the parking garage at Victoria Gardens. All right, 8BQG795 at the same exact time, 5:19, where I'm here in Upland, California. This is indeed the P.O.C. And those demons engaging in that same exact demonic conduct terrorism while I'm sitting in the car of a third party who was monitoring with those demons who are surrounding. This is terrorism. All right, so I want to document that, and it's ongoing demonic activity, 5:23 p.m. License plate 8WFG909 at Mountain Green Plaza and Mountain Square Plaza, which is across the street on the opposite side. And license plate 8YIS9. I can't really see that one. I think I read that one already. License plate 8XQP182, 8EGA452, 6LMN316, 2740 handicap, 6AAF502, 6XUV466, directed light in the car while this demon, 5PPW816, crosses path. 8ADA108. That's the audible activity of the demon that's touching me while I'm sitting in the car. 8XXW877. License MARCO56, 8YLD056. The entity dragging the light source, remaining directly over me. State surveillance at the, that is the, where the Legends Brew on Mountain Avenue. That's Starbucks Plaza. The Carl's Jr., the Walmart at 1333 North Mountain Avenue, where the entity has a fake sun over me at 9 o'clock in the morning, which would be 10 o'clock in the morning, daylight savings time, remaining as I document on December 8th. This is the fake sun at 5:25 p.m. over the property, which again is documented, by the way, in 2020, where the entity kept the fake sun stationary over this exact same Walmart from approximately 11 a.m. until after 6 p.m. during daylight savings time. 6UES151. Omnitrans group stalking the path with light activity. 6RGV904, 5WDU595, 8XQK502, 8XIS199, 64607U2, 6LM270, 6TJC832. It's currently 5:26 p.m. License 7ZYZ023, 7RQB662, 8YAE076. License plate 8FWP368. Crossing path with what is the El Super Shopping Plaza on Mountain Avenue. 6Z93383, the 7-Eleven at Mountain Avenue, and I believe that is 7th Street. This is the documentation as I referenced. This is in the morning when I'm at that particular 7-Eleven on Mountain Avenue. Southwest Airlines is flying directly over the property while I'm at that venue, and this is in the morning, and it is 5 in the evening. This is speaking to the pattern of conduct, all the ways in which I've already shown what is the P.O.C. This is the light source, which is not possibly the sun, over these venues that I've documented in the morning time. Okay, all again exclusive to what the entity's doing while I'm going to Fontana, while I'm going to, for example, Chino. This is P.O.C. License plate 38084K. I'm sorry, 38084K3. License plate 8DFJ915 7CKG438. I want to be clear, what you're listening to is audible activity, and I'm not talking about my voice. I'm talking about this music that Tracy Banks is playing. This is impunity. You're going to prosecute for that. 67594V2. She's present while the entity is flying over the apartment that I'm inside of by helicopter, just like she was while I was at Woodside Senior Apartments. And the same exact P.O.C. was underway. License plate 8HMY. Oh, I can't see the rest of you. Just rest that. License 8ZPS 648 10341W2 6PVP 602 8UXH 634 6EQH 104 6BeatsFT 162 8UMZ. I can't run through this. 7PVE 259 8. I read that one already. 8. I think I read that one too. 6LPP 591. In case I didn't read that one. 7WGH 222. That's currently 5:28 p.m. 8KDR 321. 7TBG 031. Omnitrans bus number 2341. That's Route 61 going westbound. Crossing path. License plate 8AGV 128. And this is what I mean by understanding when you're in the presence of evil. Irrespective of the identity, irrespective of the outward conduct, you're witnessing evil in its substance, especially the third party that's acting. It's 5:29 p.m. License plate 05677X1. 8UQH. I can't wait to see that one. License 6WPU 933 6RTD 101. Light activity license plate 9F64502. That's a large truck sitting in the middle of the street on Hall Boulevard facilitating. 7GEH 685, I believe. Nine 90000B3. 5UIY 946. 79262K3. 8MQC 819. License 7G51111. 6JBT142. 6BMU. I can't see the rest of these guys on. 8LDP 065, I believe. License 6F44336. I believe. 6E44336. 8MWM276 crossing path. 5TXD 238, I believe. 5WWM 687. 4VBE. You can scratch that, I can't see the rest. 7SNX 886. Omnitrans bus 2362. License 1545805. License 8EDV 437. License 7UIA 749 8KSZ 104 7PLL 458. And it's 5:32 p.m. License plate 7HCM281 6NDB968. License plate M2A2C. That's the entity that Tracy Banks is monitoring with. That's group stalking by commercial airline plane. That's Delta Airlines. All right, as far as the people of the state go, Delta Airlines and Tracy Banks are both engaging in what is vicarious stalking on behalf of the state of California. They are the people of the state, engaging in this terrorism, engaging in what is demonic activity as a single entity. And what you'll pay attention to in the video that I just captured right now, as you see the fake sun remaining over me inside of a third party's vehicle, engaging in what is the state surveillance system, identifying what is unmistakable demon possession as a matter of evidence for purposes of prosecuting the criminal surveillance and the terrorism by a demon-possessed entity. That's what that fake sun being over me inside of Tracy Banks' vehicle demonstrates and proves. In addition to what you see, this demon drives off. That's Tracy Banks. You also, the demons that are Omnitrans, that fake sun remains over me while Omnitrans is nowhere near in sight. All right? Contrary to when I'm on that vehicle and that fake sun is hovering over me, street for street, turn for turn, which is exactly the case with the other third party, which is Tracy Banks. Okay? The entity is engaging in what is conduct in concert with the people of the state, every single last one of them. And they're of the same identical condition, and that is Delta Airlines, who is monitoring as well, group stalking in the sky space. And the fake sun is over here at Shire's Liquor, which you're also paying attention to, which is also speaking to what is not possibly the sun, while I'm present at this venue getting on Omnitrans bus while the fake sun remains over me as early as 7:50 in the morning. That is the P.O.C. Alrighty, and what is the tragic situation? You're not getting any tears from me. Listen, M2A2C, again, that's the sex offender that touches me with direct light while they park. What's so tragic is that you're witnessing, as I'm capturing license 4WON432, which is a demon-possessed group stalker going by the name of Tracy Banks, Tracy Jenkins on Facebook. She is a third-party monitoring also with her biological son, Eric Corey Spencer. This is the division of what is bloodlines when you are witnessing what is understanding those who serve Satan and those who not, and those who do not, and that's myself. And so you're talking about what is no loyalty with and what is no respecter with regard to evil and criminal conduct. It is uniform with regard to its ability to be identified, to document it, to prosecute it, and with regard to what is even any personal relation that you may have to a demon-possessed actor, which is exactly what I've been describing to you with regard to demon possession. All right, so what is tragic about what you're witnessing in this documentation, which is there's a body of evidence of the treachery that Tracy Banks has engaged in, which the people of the state shall be prosecuted for in concert with her. But you're witnessing what is a demon that is targeting her own, engaging in that psychopath conduct in an unpersuasive manner, and is in no way any sort of actual mother, which has a substantive definition. She is a part in the same exact demonic conduct, terrorism. All right, engaging in conduct, which she is, let me be clear, this is a demon that derives pleasure, but is keeping a straight face with knowledge of the fact that it is entirely demented and unacceptable with regard to what is a matter of public corruption, and that's federal group stalking and monitoring, and that's the reason why she continuously engages in it. That's why she's doing it. Okay, and that's a matter of evidence that's demonstrated by evidence, and she is under what is an impossibility, a scientific impossibility, and science itself supports that. And so you have what is the light source that's over me while I'm in her vehicle on the same street where hours from now the light source is present at that same exact location in alignment to me as though the sun is setting there, in the same location where I was this morning with that light source in the same exact position over my head as though the sun is remaining present on that same street for the duration of the day. No matter where you go, no matter how far you go, no matter what time it is, that is what is demonstrated through such documentation. It is surrounding what is the pattern of conduct. While you're listening to her blast music, this is a demon that's creating audible activity. While the entity is molesting and terrorizing with directed light, this is a demon who is engaging in monitoring me and with knowledge of my documentation. That is a very violent and dangerous psychopath who is also in the position of one who is in the flesh, giving birth to the targeted individual. That's the one who would like to refer to herself as a mother. She is not a mother. And I've also documented that. 6NDB968. And she drives off engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. I'm in her car engaging in, while she's engaging in the pattern of conduct. And she is fully engaged in the pattern of conduct even while I am not in her presence. This is a stalker who is a psychopath. That's also documented in my exchanges with her on the phone and in text messages when she asks questions. Again, this is the stabber with the bloody knife, and is holding it behind their hand as though you can't see that evidence, as though you don't see the blood smeared all over their shirt, and they're keeping a smile on their face as though they're about to serve you ice cream, as though you are ignorant about all of that they are holding in their hand, trying to hide it behind their back, and it's no persuasion whatsoever, right? This is a psychopath who asks me questions such as, oh, where are you at, and what happened to your property, and oh, why can't you go to this and such library? She's a part of the same exact entity that is monitoring, and it is unpersuasive. What it is revealing is that psychopath. That is a matter of objective evidence with the directed light, with the light source that's over my head, and it's over my head in her car. The directed light is molesting me and accosting me in her car. The entity is stalking me by and terrorizing by helicopter while I'm in her presence in her friend's apartment, while the entity is molesting my thighs with directed light as though the sun is outside of their window. Just as like you saw, it's over the window of Starbucks. That's how the entity is hovering over this apartment, and then the entity flies over by helicopter in her presence. Exactly like I stated before, that's exactly what was ongoing inside of her apartment at Woodside Senior Apartments. This is a psychopath, and that is understanding the presence of evil. All right? And this is one who would call themselves, refer to themselves as a mother. Okay? And so I am documenting the P.O.C., and there is no respect of persons with regarding to what is the presence of Satan. Satan hiding in all corners, and I'm letting you know Satan cannot hide, and you yourself can also identify it by the environment that you're in, and it does not matter what vessel a minion is. That's what I'm referencing by vessels, what vessel Satan is using. And there is no exception, by the way. When you're in that environment, you are aware by virtue of that environment the condition of everyone around you. But in addition to that, it's not by itself, because those that are in that environment are also abiding by a very specific code of conduct, and it's also criminal. All right, it's currently 5:44 p.m. and this is the fake sun that's at Shiro's Liquor, aiming impossible light inside of that Shiro's Liquor, where the entity is engaging. This is the same venue where they're harassing me. Okay, as I've documented, while they're engaging in federal stalking. This is the one that, again, that I'm speaking to, deportation upon federal prosecution. It's not just him. Minions of that like that are not natural born citizens engaging in this P.O.C. while they want to harass the one who's prosecuting them. It's not smart. P.O.C. It's currently 5:44 p.m. Alrighty, license 6CBG888. They are group stalking inside of the Shiro's Liquor. You are literally looking at what is incontrovertible evidence, as is all my documentation, by the way. But when I say, I'm inside of the Shiro's Liquor, where the fake sun is directly above my head at the same as that Shiro's Liquor, inside of the B&G Plaza, as my records show, even before 7:50, but as of late, I'll go with 7:50, because either way, you go to 9 o'clock. That's not the sun, ever. The video that I just captured where Tracy Banks is crossing path in directed light, and monitoring with the rest of these demons while I'm being touched with directed light. And this is the same exact criminal system. And Tracy Banks is treated no different. She's a demon. You identify. It's the same exact precise formula. And this is exactly what I mean when I put my money where my mouth is, and that's what I mean by it. There is no exception to that. And with regard to that, I mean with regard to identifying demon possession. And with regard to the documentation of the pattern of conduct, there is no exception. And that is pursuant to what is establishing that pattern. That pattern is already established. So what am I doing? I'm showing you this is the P.O.C. and look who's engaging in the P.O.C. Do you think it matters the identification of that one that's engaging in that P.O.C.? I'm going to let you know as a matter of what the law shall be and under what is legal reasoning. First of all, what is logic? No, it does not change. It's showing you how egregious this criminal system is, and it shows you how ruthless Satan is as it uses those who are closest to you, by the way. License plate 7JXB028, group stalking at the driveway. Group stalking at B&G Plaza, engaging in surveillance monitoring with the one who's group stalking at the driveway. Let me show you this. That is license 6XHF901. Monitoring at the B&G Plaza, as I was stating. And so the entity is engaging in this conduct, and as I've stated, you're looking at the pattern of conduct, and then you're paying attention. And this is what I'm speaking to. I was using, first of all, let's go back. As I was speaking about the audible activity, as you're listening to a demon identified with what is the company Amazon Prime. I'm going to go with the company that is Amazon Prime. This is a demon whose name I don't know, but actually I do know their name, Amazon Prime. That's a ways in which you're going to document the people of the state for UDB 915. But for purposes of generally speaking, minions whose name you don't know, this is the group stalking system, strangers stalking you. This is what the system relies on. And the system is that of the government. This is what the government is relying on. First of all, and you're talking about anonymity. So in other words, that serves the purpose of you're never even suspecting that strangers are stalking you, because that's exactly what they're doing. But even more so, you're talking about even upon suspecting it and alleging it, but for documentation, but for the establishing of a precedent as I have provided, you're talking about what is inherently intended and designed to falsely and unjustly depict that target individual as suffering from some mental incapacity, which, by the way, is that which is facilitated further by demon-possessed medical professionals, okay? They are in position. These are minions. They're in position. And how do I know that? Not because I ever alleged anything to any state or third-party minion, because I knew what was up from the beginning. I was documenting it. And guess what? The entity that's stalking and monitoring knows exactly what you're documenting. So as I started documenting, the entity becomes increasingly aggressive and begins kidnapping me. And then they jump ahead in the bandwagon. I never even said, oh, help me, please help me. Strangers are stalking me. I don't know what's going on, but the planes are following me around. The helicopters are following me everywhere that I'm going. The government is monitoring me. I didn't say any of that. I didn't say a word to them. The government that is stalking and monitoring in the way in which the ordinary target individual would allege, okay, it is disturbing. It's alarming. It's terrifying. All right, and you're talking about what is lacking any vocabulary to even describe the demonic. 7TWV246 is engaging in it. AWIN369 is engaging in it. And this is a Latino male that works for Andy's Burgers. Group stalking. His bald head is touched with directed light while he's stalking in the vehicle. Let me show you a picture of this little demon-possessed group stalker who's also a sex offender. Alrighty, in monitoring with Andy's Burgers, who's group stalking, taking his break time to engage in further surveillance, stalking in the path under the fake sun. License 7LYB202, 7NAN650, 5JMT945, 7YMG973. Alrighty, so like I was stating, so you have the entity that's jumping ahead of the bandwagon. By jumping ahead of the bandwagon, I mean the entity saw with full knowledge of what I'm documenting, and upon what is, again, this is a kidnapping, and so you're going to pay attention. First of all, it's a kidnapping, and they're doing it upon what is literally making up a case. You were engaged in the P.O.C. your group stalking. I'm engaged in lawful conduct of documenting it, and while you're aware of the fact that I'm documenting it, then you engage in kidnapping me, which they would ordinarily, under what is absence of knowledge as to federal group stalking and monitoring, you would just sue the state, or you would bring a case against the state for what is a false arrest, all right, a civil matter. It is beyond that. This supersedes that. This is well beyond that. This is a whole other level. This is federal law because the entity is engaged in what is state surveillance. So this is a kidnapping by the entity that knows what I'm documenting. So what the entity, this is not just a false arrest. This is a kidnapping by the entity that's engaged in surveillance and terrorism. And then you have what is waging false allegations. The reason why I'm going through this is because you need to understand what is the terrorism that the target individual is subject to, but for the ability to establish the precedent. And I'm also giving you, I'm just educating with regard to what is, there's no difference with regard to the pattern of conduct and who is engaging in it. A demon, a stranger who's driving a commercial vehicle such as Amazon Prime, and versus a minion who unfortunately is a puppet of Satan. And I know this minion's name. She even gave birth to me. Do you think I'm going to in any way deviate from what is her prosecution? As a matter of justice, on behalf of targeted individuals in this country who shall benefit from the creation of such federal law, which I have been given the ability to both identify this system and to make sure that any other person lacking that spiritual, I can also identify it by objective evidence, which you may also submit in a court in order to prosecute. Hell no. I'm going to put that in frank terms. Hell no, I'm not going to deviate from what shall be the prosecution of Tracy Banks with Ontario Police Vehicle 1032, who are group stalkers and kidnappers and violent sex offenders serving Satan together. And guess what? The service of Satan shall be the grounds of what is your federal prosecution in the U.S. It is legally relevant. You don't exercise any religious rights when the government itself is engaging in state surveillance in violation of your constitutional rights. It's directly relevant to the criminal conduct that you're subject to, that the entity is inflicting upon you. It's called terrorism. All right, and the demonic is highly demented, and it's intended to terrorize. All right, and so that's why I'm going through that. And so the entity that jumped ahead of itself, first of all, engages in what is, understand, a kidnapping, not a false arrest. That's a kidnapping. All right, engages in a kidnapping, and then says makes up information in order. Let me be clear: these are uneducated, legally illiterate. Demons, because that's what they are. They're baboons wearing police uniforms. Okay, you're talking about people that are very, very arrogant in their mindset with regard to who they think they are and what they think they can do. And I literally put that to the test. While everything that they were doing, not only am I speaking to what is the ability to prosecute, and I've used everything that they did. It's a pattern, and so you can surround it with this sort of legislation. But even aside from that, what they were doing, it's asininity. You made up a crime. You made up information. You made it up, and it doesn't even support what is the creation of probable cause. Your lie does not even create probable cause in your alternate universe where you're exercising fictitious authority under the law, by the way. Okay? These idiots, and this is all published. This is all published, the fictitious prosecution, the kidnappings, the criminal summonings that the entity engaged in while it was monitoring my documentation. So the entity that knows that I'm documenting then engages in what is more aggressive conduct. You're starting to let me know that you're stalking by helicopter by hovering over me day in and day out everywhere that I'm going by helicopter. This is a matter of published documentation. While you're stalking with the whole environment, this is a matter of published documentation, which I continue to gather. This is all terrorism. You're talking about years and years of terrorism. You're going to federal prison for that, but I'll digress off of that point right now. Let me finish where I'm going with this. The entity engaging in what is a stalking in all matter by the people of the state. All right, in concert with what are demons who are affiliated with these police departments, these fire departments, and these paramedics, these ambulance companies that are engaging in criminal activity. I mean, psychopaths on the loose, okay? Going around sounding sirens everywhere. Whew. If you got a real vivid picture of what they're actually doing, it is very, very sick, okay? Very, very disturbing. So anyway, the entity engages in kidnapping. You're making up a very, first of all, not only did they make it up, but it's not a serious charge that they made up. And what else are you going to do? I'm not a criminal, so you're making up something that doesn't even provide you any probable cause in your alternate universe. Let me be clear, it was just to get me into the system. All right, you could literally write down, she was carrying a purple Cabbage Patch doll, because that's how much significance it has. It didn't matter what they made up. The police arrested me. They filled out the paperwork. They could write, literally, that's how much significance it had, because it didn't matter. They were lying. They were engaging in an ongoing kidnapping, and the intent at the outset was to place me into a mental ward where they literally made up the information as they went on, okay? And they jumped ahead of the cart. How did they jump ahead of the cart? Because they made up information which would be ordinarily an allegation based on allegations that I would have made based upon the entity stalking and monitoring. But I didn't make those allegations. I didn't talk to these demons about anything. They kidnapped me. I sit up in jail and I ask them questions. Why? First of all, when they're kidnapping me, why are you touching me? You don't want to answer that. And then when I'm at the sheriff's department, why are you touching me? Because they engaged in sexual violence, stripping me naked, putting me in different uniforms in order to avoid proper procedure, put me into the mental ward instead of just putting me into jail. All right, this is when you're engaging in that conduct, understand what the conspiracy is at the outset, to defame. Criminal defamation is the pattern of conduct. And that's why there is no minion on the street corner that will defame you while they're monitoring, and no minion in any state facilitating venue that will engage in the pattern of conduct of criminal defamation and not pay very serious consequences for it. It's the government that's engaging in criminal defamation. So you want to see the very serious, scenario where the entity is engaging in that very conduct. You want to call somebody crazy? That's the government calling you crazy. Well, the government engages in calling you crazy when it wants to kidnap you in a ward as well. It's unacceptable on the street corner. When you are a criminal, it's unacceptable by the entity that wants to kidnap you and silence you to obstruct justice. And both will be subject to federal prison. Okay, so that's what criminal defamation is about, by the way. So anyway, you have the entity license OZIEJR, group stalking. This is the African-American male and Andy's Burgers. So you have the entity that engages in kidnapping me and then making up information. And like I said, so I will go through. It was a false, it was a false arrest, but it's a kidnapping because they're engaged in surveillance. So, but the allegation, the false allegation, an additional federal charge, the entity is stating that they kidnapped me because I was obstructing their duties. I was resisting arrest. But let me be clear. First of all, I've already told you this. A government that's engaging in surveillance, a state that's engaging in surveillance, does not have probable cause and reasonable suspicion. Think this through, okay? Why is that? Because they already know what's going on. They know what you're doing. You're subject to surveillance. Those legal doctrines do not exist. And let me be clear, they're also on the books for your own feeling of safety and comfort. Okay, just like the Constitution, as I'm clearly documenting, the government is engaging in what is conduct that is entirely in conflict with it. And those laws exist for your comfort, where you are living under the fallacy of being in a free society, having constitutional liberty rights. It only exists in your mind because you are under the impression that those laws exist and that they are abided by. Okay, understand that. Probable cause, reasonable suspicion does not exist. You're placed under surveillance. This changes the whole terrain. what the government is doing. It changes everything. Okay, so 5BCC 954 and 7KJY 710. So you have the entity that's engaging in what is kidnapping, because that's what it is, and then making up information. That information that was made up was the fact that I was obstructing an arrest of an officer. First of all, there's so many assumptions here. It is that false allegation by a demon who was engaging in kidnapping presupposes that it was a lawful arrest. All right. Second of all, you're talking about what was this, pray tell, what was the arrest for? Why were you arresting me in the first place? You don't have any probable cause to arrest. Oh, so you're making up information that I was interrupting what was an ongoing investigation, which is actually a lie as well. If you look at my documentation, the entity was stalking by airplane. I'm not going to go through all this. I'm just going to, because it's already published, that's why I'm not going to go through all this. And I've told it so many times, which is already published on my on my podcast and in video documentation on my website and on YouTube, but more fully on my website. All right. But, and my website, by the way, is the patternofconduct.wordpress.com. So anyway, the entity is making up information and stating that I'm obstructing an ongoing investigation. There was no investigation. The third party that they were monitoring with, that's criminal summoning, that criminal act that they were engaged in, by the way. Engaging in a kidnapping via criminal summoning. That was the people of the state and the Ontario police acting directly and vicariously. Okay, engaging in monitoring me, and then they engage in a kidnapping, and then they're waging a false allegation. I'm interrupting an ongoing investigation. There was no investigation. First of all, that third party that was only present there for that scene, light activity, stalking in the path, monitoring, literally already drove off. And then you have, what are the officers? They were keeping their back to me. They're sitting there monitoring while I'm taking pictures of their license plate and the entity that's hovering by plane over that 7-Eleven across the street from Tracy Banks' apartment complex, Woodside Senior Apartments. And then the officer turns around and approaches me and grabs me and tackles me. He's literally physically attacking me. And he refuses to answer the question, why are you touching me? Because this demon is mad that I took a picture of his license plate. Period. Period, point blank. As I've already shown you, is the personality of Satan. There is more than one reason why I continue to tell you and show you and explain to you the patterns of Satan. These same patterns are underway, and they have been historically, as I've been documenting it. So these demons are mad while I'm documenting, and necessarily so, what is the pattern of conduct that I'm subject to. And then they engage in a kidnapping, and they're waging false allegations in order to do so. And the lies that they're stating do not even provide probable cause, stating that that you were obstructing arrest, and stating that I was standing behind your car, and that you told me to get away. That this is what the officer is stating, and I'm paraphrasing, by the way. He stated that he told me to get away, but I did not get away, which is a lie, and that they were standing, in the midst of an investigation, an ongoing investigation, which you can even see through the documentation that I published, my images. The third party was gone. There was no investigation underway, and the totality of the evidence, again, fails to provide any probable cause to arrest. They're stating that you had the right to arrest because I was taking a picture of your license plate. That is no probable cause. And understand, this is the law that I'm discussing. They don't have the law. This is fictitious exercise of authority. These are criminals that are in positions of law enforcement. And guess what? That criminal conduct is welcomed by the court. They're engaging in P.O.C. together. That's why I'm capturing the fake sun remaining over me as I'm going right past that Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. Guess what? Minions fill that courthouse. Demonic activity underway at that courthouse. Criminal conduct, federal group stalking and monitoring at that courthouse. Puppets of Satan at that courthouse. That's why I've captured more than one occasion the fake sun over that courthouse while I'm on Omnitrans, subject to the P.O.C. Okay? Like I said, that criminal conduct, and let me be clear, a kidnapping by the police, that's readily identifiable by an officer of the court that's doing their job. But guess why it wasn't? Because the officers of the court, the district attorneys, the public defenders, the judges, literally the minions that sit in the courtroom, in the gallery, they're all monitoring. This is speaking to what is the intent at the outset, to engage in a kidnapping for purposes of silencing the targeted individual. So the entities lie following a kidnapping, which is nothing other than serving to what's supposed to substantiate why you kidnapped me. There is no substantiation. There is no justification for kidnapping. You're going to federal prison for that. So, and you're talking about what's federal group stalking and monitoring. This is the reality of what's going on. And so while the entity is engaging in this kidnapping, the immediate intent at the outset, which is reflected in the documentation of the paperwork that they gave me, is speaking to their criminal activity. I'm subject to a fictitious prosecution. Why is it fictitious on more than one ground? First of all, it's fictitious because the government does not have authority in the courts as police, as the sheriff. they're engaging in state surveillance. They are the criminals. They are on the wrong side of the law, exercising fictitious authority. And then they are also engaged, and that's a fictitious prosecution. It's also fictitious while they made up a case. They made it up. Made up a case. And by make up a case, I literally mean the case didn't even exist. They made up a case number. I went to the formal proceedings of sitting in a court. There was somebody sitting there calling themselves a judge. There was somebody stating that it was a certain type of court hearing, but that was fictitious all the way around. It was a circus. It was literally an ongoing proceeding. It is designed to deceive only the target individual, okay? They're calling it a court proceeding, and it's only that because they're calling it so and it's fictitious in that regard because it's actually fake. It's not even a real court hearing. And how do I have that? How do I know that? I've documented it because those very court hearings that I was subject to, by the way, and this is, again, the target individual in every way subject to ongoing abuse and violation, because you're talking about the ordinary target individual may or may not actually know the law. You may or may not actually know your constitutional rights. You may or may not actually know the laws that the entity is governed by when you're in a court, and what lawyers should be doing if they have any baseline of competence, all right? And when they're lacking competence, guess what? It's not because they went to a sucky law school. It's not because they're not doing their job. It's because it's called intent. It's called malice. It's the pattern of conduct. It's called criminal incompetence, all right? And that's also a pattern. It's not a coincidence, and it's not a mistake. It's absolutely intentional, where the government's kidnapping you by police, and then you have the sheriff's department that make up paperwork in order to keep you in that kidnapped state. Nobody's addressing the fact that the information provided does not provide you legal grounds to keep me there, and then you keep me there, and then you don't take me to court as you keep me there, and then when you do take me to court, it's not a real court hearing, because that's why you try to repeat those same exact court hearings. That's all out of bounds of the Constitution, the state and federal constitutions. This is not a coincidence, people. All right, these are demons that fill the court, demons that fill police stations, demons that fill the sheriff's department. These same demons that I'm documenting day in and day out on the streets and the highways, group stalking under the fake sun and directed light, while they're listening to every word that I'm documenting, they're going to federal prison. The entity that I've identified by venue, the sheriff's department, I documented their venue while they were kidnapping me. It's not just those that I identified by badge number and that I'm identifying by license plate. The entity, they're going to federal prison. I mean, that's very serious what I documented. And it is comprehensive documentation. And there's more than what I document on my podcast and what I have with my documentation, because all of that surveillance camera conduct, that is documentation that belongs to the target individual. So anyway, excuse me, I'm speaking fast, to the targeted individual. So like I was stating, the entity is jumping ahead of the car. I had to give you some of that foundational information so you know what I'm talking about. The entity that is monitoring documentation, the entity that engages in what is aggressive conduct and then begins kidnapping me, and doing so in concert with the people, this treacherous demon, Tracy Banks, engaging in criminal summoning, waging false allegations, what's so tragic, she's going to federal prison for that. And she is no mother. And I don't feel bad for it. In the same way, she does not feel bad. This is what evil is. She does not feel bad for what she's doing to her own daughter, okay? And now what she would do to her daughter, imagine the evil that she would perpetrate among somebody that she doesn't even have any bloodlines with. And she doesn't feel any remorse doing it to me. And let me be clear, I'm the most loyal person that she knew in life. And that's true. That's absolutely true. And I could say that now, aware of the fact that my own mother is actually an enemy, because she serves Satan. And that's the reality. That's not only based on a spiritual truth, that's based on her very conduct. Her conduct is one of an enemy. But let me be clear, the entity that engages in this conduct, you have what is beginning to kidnap me. And then the entity that is kidnapping, they jump ahead of the cart because I never made any allegations. You're talking about what is relying on the P.O.C. So you're talking about you want to defame the target individual that's alleging that they're subject to group stalking. Erica Lorraine Spencer never made such allegations. Erica Lorraine Spencer set up while you kidnap me and I'm asking you, why am I here? Okay, so where am I? I want my copies of my paperwork. I'm not signing that. When are you going to take me to court? Why didn't you take me to court? Why aren't you saying this in court? You should have told the judge that in court. Why am I still in jail? That's what Erica Lorraine Spencer is doing, okay? And there is no conversation with these minions that I know that are monitoring me. I'm not talking about them, about the criminal conduct that they're engaging in. There was no allegations. Oh my gosh, the government is stalking me. Helicopters are following me everywhere. Strangers are following me. Okay, light is falling out of the sky, touching all over my body. I don't know what's going on. The sun is remaining over me all day long. Oh my gosh, none of that happened, okay? The pattern of conduct itself, which is revealing the psychopath that is the entity that's engaging in this satanic system, that's the crazy one. Let me be clear, the targeted individual, the ordinary target individual, lacking a proper nomenclature, lacking an ability, and understandably so, Okay? I had to come up with a naming convention for what is this conduct that's out of the pit of hell. I came up with the term directed light so you can understand and identify what the hell I'm talking about while Satan itself is engaging in terrorizing. That's what that is. You can't even name it because you have never seen it before. It's not normal light, and that's not possibly the sun. So yeah, it's called the fake sun because that's not the sun. Science supports that. Okay? There were no allegations about what this entity is doing. I'm not going to talk to Satan about what Satan is doing. I'm not stupid. Okay? Like I said, I have been prepared from the outset for this very thing that I'm doing. It is my job. Okay? So you're talking about what is the P.O.C.? What was the intent, though? The entity jumps ahead of the bandwagon. They jump ahead because we never had any such conversation. I never talked to any medical workers while they then engage in what is, again, a kidnapping while all the allegation is just obstruction of arrest. That's a very simple case. How do you jump from obstruction to arrest to placing somebody in a mental ward? And then not only did you do that, you did that while you were keeping me in jail and not taking me to the courts. You did that while you were trying to repeat court hearings that were supposedly already done, i.e. an arraignment. Let me be clear. That's unconstitutional. You can't do that, ever. Okay? It's not a continuance of the arraignment. The arraignment was complete per their own records. While you want to go ahead and execute your fictitious case, you go right on ahead. I'm going to document you. You're all going to federal prison. So you have the entity engaging in that fictitious case and then in trying to repeatedly kidnap and repeat that fictitious case over and over and over and over. Literally. That's a kidnapping and a fictitious prosecution, and that's why it's fictitious on both accounts. Okay? You also have the entity that is then engaging in not only are you refraining from taking me to court and then trying to repeat an arraignment, trying to restart a fake case. That's how you know it's fake. Okay? We already had an arraignment on before Shannon Faherty. So what was that? Pray tell. Well, what was going on there? Because you called that an arraignment. You set the bail hearing. You kept me in jail. You said that there was the next hearing was going to be in a week and a half. So says those minions that are with the DA and with the public defenders. They're all going to federal prison. Okay? It's an ongoing kidnapping. It's called malice. They're demons that are acting in concert, seeking to obstruct justice, seeking to conceal this matter of public corruption. License 7DET445. License 8VOZ707. License 8BUZ385. And so you have the entity that jumps ahead of the bandwagon while they are then engaging in what is for merely nothing other than, first of all, it's a lie and it's a kidnapping. But let's pay attention to the very remedial charge, albeit false, but it's a remedial charge. Obstruction of arrest. Okay, so you're going from obstruction of arrest to all of a sudden placing somebody in a mental ward. And of course, they're all out of procedure. They don't do that by procedure because there's never any consulting with any medical workers. I don't talk to any of those minions. Never consulted with any of them. Never had any encounters with them. They begin targeting me, coming to my cell, okay, while I'm in general population. And then I say, no, thank you. I don't want to talk to you. WTF? Why would I want to in the first place? That's weird. Where did you even come from with that? I'm still sitting in jail and I haven't even had a court hearing. What are you talking about? No, I don't want to talk to you. That's ridiculous. And then all of a sudden, they just rip me up out of general population and put me in the mental ward, okay? And using that denial, that refusal to communicate with them as the very grounds of the communication with them. Let me tell you something, only Satan engages in such wicked conduct. Satan will use your very own mother, you're witnessing it. Satan will feign being perplexed like you witness Amazon Prime. Understand, you're witnessing evil. I'm showing it to you, I'm teaching it to you. You need to understand the personality of Satan. You need to understand what evil is. Okay, so you have the entity engaging in what is jumping ahead of the cart because we didn't even ever have a conversation about what you would use to paint me as crazy. Because I never alleged to the entity itself because I know who's monitoring me. We didn't have any conversation about helicopters following me around, about that which is a fake sun remaining over my head, about what is light that's touching all over my body and I don't know where it's coming from, about strangers that are following me around, that are stalking me, that are harassing me. We didn't have that conversation. Okay, the pattern of conduct itself is be based on what is the psychopaths that are the entity, Satan itself, puppets of Satan, engaging in entirely sick conduct. The very allegations as they come out of your mouth are intended to sound as though they are so bizarre, they are unbelievable, but for documentation. I'm no fool, okay? And also, I'm not going to have any conversation with these. None of them are heroes. They're all engaging in a kidnapping. You can see the complicity while nobody's doing anything about what is a glaring issue. Nobody's doing anything about the fact that I've been sitting in jail and I didn't have any court hearing. That's an ongoing pattern. Okay, so when you are paying attention, you are also aware in that regard, they're all engaging in this together. There's a reason why that very glaring issue, even as you are in those who are supposedly legally representing you, And again, I practice law. I know very well. There's a reason why I have the background that I have, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm very well equipped to do this. And what I'm stating is, we're talking about what is the entity that is in every way intentionally disregarding what are glaring issues that would otherwise result in an immediate release. I'm talking that night. They never had a right to do it. Why did they do it though? To get me into the system to start to engage in what is kidnapping. The entity intended at the outset, we're going to silence Erica Lorraine Spencer. What she's documenting is never going to see the light of day. All right, I want to be clear, the people of the state monitoring with this little underage minion who's crossing path under the fake sun. And that is documentation of what is the sex offender engaging in monitoring with the minion, 8HLY821, 6DJC255, monitoring with a little child, put a communication device in that little demon's hand, and is engaging in federal stalking with the entity. And that third party is an adult engaging in that criminal conduct with those under the age of 18. So I just want to document that. Anyway, it's 6:15 p.m. So you have the entity that is engaging and jumping ahead of this cart. There's not even any conversation, and this is a matter of documentation on their own surveillance cameras. My communication to deny talking to you, no, get out of my face. What the heck? I'm not going to talk to you. And you're talking about what is also the making up of information. Made it up. When I say pull it out the sky, pulled it out the sky like directed light pulled out the sky. Okay? Coming out of nowhere like directed light. Okay? The entity making up information about drug prescriptions. I have never had a drug prescription ever for any sort of psychotic issues, none of that. That does not exist ever. Okay, I've never even met with anyone of that. And I'm not downing anybody that has that, but that's not Erica Lorraine Spencer's issue, and it never has been. Okay, so literally making it up. And when I say they're going to federal prison for that, every single last one of them are going to federal prison for that. And like I was stating, I was speaking very relevantly with regard to what are minions that are in positions to facilitate this pattern of conduct. Not only is the P.O.C. designed for what is the false and unjust defamation of the alleging targeted individual, which is literally what I'm going to address, because that is absolutely absurd. It is absurd. And what you'll also find is the documentation itself is revealing who was actually the crazy. Who's crazy? The people of the state, the demons that they are. Okay, demons that are crazy with regard to the very conduct that they're engaging in. The fact that you're engaging in it as a group, that's sick. It's one thing to do bad, to do evil, to do wrong when you're doing it by yourself, but you're talking about like, it's a collective act. That's a certain type of crazy for everybody to be in on it together. And then everybody is supposed to be in on it, as I've shown you. Pay attention to every facet of the documentation, every facet of that prosecution. The terrorism, sex offenders and psychopaths and stalkers, demons, who are engaging in conduct as though they are oblivious to the fact that the entity is flying around the building, the library by helicopter, while the entity is amplifying it inside of the library. Nobody hears it, and you see it by their facial expressions. That's the code of conduct by a bunch of demons who are, by virtue of engaging in that. That's, first of all, a documented pattern. That is the evidence of guilt. Contrary to what they intended. It's not demonstrating innocence. I'm showing you how federal group stalking and monitoring operates, what Satan's personality is, what it acts like. It acts like a weirdo, because that's not normal at all. It's absolutely abnormal, and it is the evidence of guilt. The same guilt that these Ontario Police Department are demonstrating while they're crossing path. Vehicle 1892. License 8AAL819 is engaged in criminal summoning. And so is license 8HLY821, monitoring with the police, criminal summoning with the police, monitoring with minions that are under the age of majority. And that's, again, the same third party, 8HLY821, because they're monitoring while the entity is patrolling. And that's how easily you can document, because that's how easily they engage in group stalking. So anyway, the entity is engaging in this conduct, and that's, by the way, the same agency, the same agency that's engaging in this criminal conduct that I'm reminding you about. That's why they're going to federal prison. They're the same entity, lacks any legitimacy whatsoever. They are literally the ones sounding their sirens, stalking, sitting at the parking garage, listening to me breathe, listening to my pinky toe as I move it in my sock. And as I do so, they immediately sound their sirens, just like you heard now. They are literally cockroaches that are driving around in those vehicles, who are in every way pathetic, stalking me, listening to me pull my panties down. Okay, they're sex offenders. They are engaged in hovering, obsessive stalking conduct with that same entity that flies around me by helicopter. They create an entire scene that is all focused on me. It's all about me. That's how pathetic, and that's that entity, the Ontario Police. That's who I'm speaking about. So like I said, the Ontario Police and the entity engaging in what is an ongoing conspiracy to kidnap and to defame at the outset. That very entity that you hear sounding their sirens under the fake sun right now, they engaged in kidnapping with the intent to kidnap inside of a mental ward at the outset. And that's why you have what is not a coincidence of everybody overlooking these legal issues with regard to what is a fictitious case that doesn't even actually exist on the books, which is why the entity repeatedly engaged in kidnapping. And I'm laughing because it's pathetic, not because it's funny, but it's so pathetic, it is laughable. Okay, and I was just blessed with the ability to laugh at what is beneath me, okay? And Satan is definitely beneath me. That's why they're stalking by police vehicles. Those demons are listening to me prosecute them. That's what's so pathetic about it. The entity is gassing up helicopters. Can you imagine being so important to a government? Gassing up helicopters about you? Maybe one might, as I describe it like that, sound as though, and I am important, I am royalty, with regard to what is not being a part of the cockroaches that are of humanity, and that's what the demon-possessed are. They are damned in life, and they are damned in eternity. And with regard to what is royalty, I'm speaking about what is my spiritual state. Okay, I'm a human being. I'm born in the same way that every other human being is born. But what I am stating is that we are only separated by not race and age and economic status, which, by the way, are tools by Satan to distract you, all right, and to divide human beings. There's only one thing that distracts us, and I'm documenting it. Those that serve Satan, 8LIG159, and those who walk in the light, all right? Those who are set apart. And that's what I am. I do not serve Satan. This is the reason why I am being targeted. That's why I am a threat, by the way. That's why they're gassing up helicopters. That's why demons that are wearing police uniforms. Okay, that's why demons in fire department trucks are stalking. I mean, you're talking about hovering stalking, obsessive stalking, unfathomable. I mean, you cannot actually imagine that level of stalking. It is of that demon possession, and that's the stalker. That is Satan. Satan is obsessed with those whom do not belong to it, and I do not belong to Satan. And not only do I not belong to Satan, I'm trampling him under my feet, and I'm not just going to do that. I'm going to name his minions, and then I'm going to prosecute Satan in court. I'm prosecuting Satan as I identify its minions: 8HJC532, 6SXT564. 5CAA314. That's how you're prosecuting Satan. You're understanding with the presence of Satan through the environment and through those who are demon possessed. That is a very real condition, as the people of the state demonstrated. Stalking, obsessive stalking in that specific environment, and also while they are stalking with light, the directed light. I have thousands of videos of it, evidence, direct evidence, which is incontrovertible. And let me be clear, not only is this speaking to what is the supernatural, revealing to you what is the supernatural through natural means, by the way, documenting it so you can see it in pictures and in video. Not only that, science itself is supporting what I'm revealing with regard to the demonic. Imagine that. That's how God works. That's how God works. So let me tell you something. The entity engages in what is jumping ahead of itself and seeking to establish a case of what is a mental incapacity, all right? Making it up the entire time. It's pursuant to what is a kidnapping. You don't even have a legal case. You are literally pulling information out the sky in order to come with this. I mean, you're talking about a reach. It was a serious, serious reach in order to do so. And why? Because the entity knows already what it is that I'm documenting. That's why. But ordinarily, what the pattern of conduct is supposed to look like is that the targeted individual is going to allege. You're going to try to tell somebody because you want someone to help you. There's nowhere to escape, and so you're going to go to who you may very well suspect, but you don't know, so you're going to tell somebody. And guess what? That somebody that you tell, they're going to refer you to somebody that can help you, a medical professional. All right? And guess what? Guess what that demon does? They diagnose you. You know what they diagnose you with? Something like, paranoid schizophrenia, hallucinations, suicidal ideation, okay? In need of medication, all right? And that is the unjust pattern of conduct. It's called criminal defamation. And those demons, I documented them. I encountered them up close and personal. I even named them. And that's just a sample, because I'm not done with the state of California, and I'm not done with those minions of the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. Even those that I did not encounter. Understand, that was documentation that's speaking to what the entire state is doing. In the same way that 8HJC532 is engaging in criminal conduct on behalf of the people of the state, the entire state. While you molest me inside of Tracy Banks' car, the people of the state of California, and it's already been established what the entity is doing everywhere and at all times. This is a pattern that's already established. This is conduct that is already established as a matter of precedent. This is what the entity does, and the entity was doing that inside of that third party's car. That's conduct on behalf of the entity that is monitoring through Tracy Banks, through those demons that are crossing the path while I'm in Tracy Banks' car. The pattern of the entity, the state of California, is going to be prosecuted for that. And that's just the nature of what is group conduct. And it is flipping that entire malicious system on its head. And this is the system that you are understanding with regard to what is, again, as I step back and I describe to you what is the entity that engages in this P.O.C, engaging in what is supposed to be the defamation of that target individual when you're making allegations of what is entirely demented and sick. There's no reflection on that targeted individual. And Satan is relying on the fact that you don't have any way to prove it. Okay, so we've avoided all of that. Satan doesn't have a word. You have nothing to stand on. And I'm going to drag you in federal court. Okay? It's going to be the dragging of history. Okay? In history. It's making history. All right? And it is serving. It's not entertaining. But I'm speaking to what is victory. Okay? Satan loses. Satan lost. Okay? And that's why I can smile. That, like I said, it is speaking to what is victorious. And Satan is not victorious. Satan and all the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of minions. Okay? Using minions with companies. It doesn't matter how much money you have. I'm going to drag you in that company. Because there is something which is called judgment from eternity, and you're not going to avoid it. License 1576655, vehicle 1014, Ontario Police. As I'm speaking of judgment, let me be clear, it's very fitting that they cross paths because they're going to face it. And they're going to federal prison. That's the entity that's group stalking with minors as well, group stalking with this entity at B&G Plaza, showing that same obsession that they have while my panties are down in the bathroom, while I'm sleeping at the museum. And people like 8HJC532, they are documented engaging in surveillance at the museum. Like I said, it's the third party. That's the entity. It is 8HJC532 in the same way that 8HJC532 is the state of California, stalking through this demon over here. While the Ontario police are crossing path, monitoring with this demon that's remaining on my right side. Group stalking through a drive-through. Pathetic. Group stalking in a police vehicle. Pathetic. So like I said, the entity is engaging in what is conduct, and it is a matter of what is justice, and you're not going to avoid it. So, and that's just a matter of what has come down from eternity. I did not decide it. I did not bring this about. It happened to me. And it happened to one with the ability to first discern. And the ability to discern is also providing what is wisdom. And I never made any allegations to this entity that I knew was monitoring me at the outset about strangers stalking and monitoring. I understand exactly what the ordinary target individual would be subject to. As God put it on my heart, and I can feel the pain of one who is going to allege it, and you sound like a crazy person. All right, so what is the resolution? How do you achieve justice on, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Showing you how you, and Satan is not impervious under any means whatsoever at all. Going to be prosecuted is Southwest Airlines. Their group stalking, monitoring with 8HJC532. That's audible activity while those demons are monitoring in directed light under the fake sun. Southwest Airlines, they're going to be subject to a very specific dragging. They've been using those planes throughout Los Angeles and San Bernardino County for years. Okay, and they're monitoring with the Ontario Police. So, like I said, you have the entity engaging in this conduct, engaging in what is jumping ahead of the bandwagon and seeking to put me in what is the outward appearance of a crazy person while they literally had to make up the information in order to do so. And why? Because they knew what I was documenting at the outset, while we never actually had any conversation about what is the pattern of conduct that I was subject to, that I was documenting, and while they had to do it while they were kidnapping me. And they engaged in repeated acts of kidnapping. And who was kidnapping? The very entity that's group stalking right now. That's why they're going to federal prison. They're also going to federal prison because they are engaging in interstate stalking in the position of law enforcement. They're also going to federal prison because they are group stalking while they're monitoring ongoing documentation that is underway. They're also going to federal prison because they are violent, sex offending group stalkers who are engaging in what is absolutely highly demented conduct in and of itself. Alrighty, it is currently 6:27 p.m. and I just wanted to break all of that down. Where you saw the fake sun, by the way, 8VRW666 engaging in surveillance, sitting at a menu at Andy's Burgers. It's so pathetic. Where you saw the fake sun at Shiro's Liquor, hovering right there over me where you see Tracy Banks crossing paths, under that fake sun at Shiro's Liquor, the same Shiro's Liquor that I'm at 7 o'clock in the morning, okay? 7:51 if you want to be precise, 7:50 a.m. More than one video captured as of late, but even before that, I've been capturing that venue in particular, but I've been capturing the P.O.C. for years. And I have captured every single angle. There is no place, by the way, that the entity can go with this fake sun over me where it is not already established as the P.O.C. And by the way, when you have established the pattern of conduct, when you do so, that is serving for any place that you're going. It doesn't change. That's how the law works, thank goodness. That's how logic works. That's how identifying a pattern works. So, and it works with regard to what is capturing the environment that an entity is stalking with. The entity is engaging in stalking in a pattern of stalking with an environment. So, for example, as you go to a corner in Northern California, guess what? That pattern is reasonably underway. It's unreasonable to suggest that it's not. Upon establishing the P.O.C., which I have done a long time ago. 8LJZ040, 8LFG692, 7VBY774, 6WIT200, 8LBP053, group stalking at Metro 102 and Ontario Town Square Townhomes, where the entity is stalking by Ontario police who are pacing. And while the entity is flying by Southwest Airlines over the Andy's Burgers, where the entity is keeping that fake sun inside of the B&G Plaza. So like I said, back to what I was stating with regard to the system that the entity is engaged in, where you saw that fake sun at that B&G Plaza, where Tracy Banks is crossing path into that fake sun. That location of that fake sun is where the entity from there is keeping that fake sun on that same street. First of all, I'm there at 7:50 in the morning. Second of all, at the intersection that is west of that, 2 blocks west of that same location of the B&G Plaza, the fake sun is supposed to be there at 7:03 p.m. as I've documented on video. License 8HLY821 is engaging in all of the aforementioned criminal conduct with a minor. Alrighty, I just want to be clear, that is with a minor child in the vehicle, engaging in all the criminal conduct, which is what the people of the state like to do. And it will be a grounds for what is understanding what is a new day, the new terrain, and the high crime of what is federal group stalking and monitoring, the very serious federal offenses by a government that's threatening your life, and you want to do so with children in custody. Well, then you are a threat to those children, and that is a matter of what is the very pattern of conduct itself while you're inflicting it on another. And it is also speaking to your condition while you have an affinity for engaging in such demented and sexually violent and predatory conduct. It's speaking to a threat to those children as well while you're engaging in criminal conduct targeting another. So this is all relevant to the ways in which the people of the state are engaging in criminal conduct on an ongoing basis, just doing so with impunity. All right, just keeping your kid in the back seat while you're engaging in terrorizing another. No, that's as a matter of justice going to be addressed thoroughly under federal law. All right, it is currently 6:31 p.m. 6PUG 111, 3WUU 357. And this minion who hops in their vehicle. You guys having your AA meeting tonight? I'd say you're finished, all right. It is license plate, sitting in his vehicle, directed light on his face, while the fake sun is on transit, 7XVT055. It is 6:31 p.m. And the entire time, by the way, well, I think I stated that because I was documenting intermittently as I continue to remind you about the entity stalking, monitoring through a third party, a demon whose name you know, i.e. Tracy Banks. Again, I mean, you can't, well, I mean, that's pretty much, I mean, your mother, that's pretty much as close as Satan can get, okay? And let me be clear, that's designed to try to devastate somebody. That doesn't devastate me. You pick whatever, I mean, it is what it is. Let me be clear, heaven and hell, that is that which serves to permanently sever even bloodlines. And that's just the reality of life and death and eternity and who you serve. And she chose, even to the demise of her own daughter, to serve Satan. All right, and that's speaking to what is not love. There's no amount of money that she can give me. There's nothing that's ever, she's going to pay for that herself. She knows exactly who I am. She knows who I am before I knew that she was a servant of Satan who actually harbors hatred for me. And that's the reality of demon possession, by the way. Satan hates me. You're seeing that through the pattern of conduct. It is the same with the demon possessed. Okay? 8PNW541. You are just not supposed to be aware of it. Okay? It is concealed through what is the nice conduct of a demon. Like I said, you're not going to be deceived by that. You shall not be deceived by that. You ought not be deceived by that. All right. And you also are witnessing what is hatred that Tracy Banks harbors for her own daughter while she is with a smile on her face, while she's snapping her fingers and bopping her knees to music, what she's listening to in the chipper mill. She's monitoring me while she's doing that. While the entity is flashing with directed light, engaging in terrorism. This is a psychopath. This is a psychopath who actually despises her own daughter. Let me be clear. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm going to, though, in every way spell out, not only on the public scene, what are minions of Satan, but I'm also going to prosecute you. That's directly relevant for the infliction of harm that you are engaging in with the government and a people. Not just the government, but the people. This is terrorism while the government and the people of the state are stalking and monitoring you. That's directly relevant. Using your own mother? That's intended to engage in what is a specialized method of infliction of harm and suffering, okay? This is the entity that's no longer flying over Andy's Burgers, flying right here at the museum, following where I am. The stalker is Alaska Airlines, and doing so under the fake sun at 6:34 p.m. So the entity, and you can hear how loud that is, as though they're taking off. They're not. That's a stalker. And where are they taking off? no longer over Andy's Burgers, which is where I was standing before, no longer over the Stater Brothers parking lot, which is where I was standing this morning. Right now, I'm standing at the museum. That's where they're now taking off. Okay? And where else? It's in the specific environment. And all of those aforesaid locations that I just stated, where they are hovering as though they're taking off at all of those different locations, right over me, in the same exact manner, the fake sun is right there over me in direct light. Okay, that's Alaska Airlines. That's a group stalker. Okay, so like I said, you have the entity that's engaging in what is infliction of harm using those whose name you know. That's directly relevant where the targeted individual is going to prosecute the entity. Those whose name you know, they are going to get a custom-sized prosecution. You're talking about what is sexual violence if you live with them. They're monitoring you in a private space. They're engaging in sexually violent conduct on behalf of an entity, exposing you to that sexually violent conduct. That reveals their mental state. It's directly relevant. Directly relevant. Okay? 6RDS565. This is evil, and you're understanding evil. You're going to reveal those closeted psychopaths as they are. 8KRU811. Based on their own criminal conduct. Okay? Not intuitive knowledge, not opinion, but those which are based on what you are doing. It's not my fault that it's unfathomable to you that you did not know, which you're not supposed to know. Satan is a loser. Satan is a follower, literally the stalker that I'm documenting it as. And what Satan is doing is Satan is now going to pay the consequence for. And let me be clear, Satan cannot afford to pay for what it has been engaging in and who it has been engaging in it through, including Alaska Airlines. So like I said, it is 6:35 p.m. I'm at the museum, and that's where the stalker is flying over me now. This is terrorism, okay? Like I said, the entity is engaging in this conduct and doing so with a treacherous actor. And so this is not a matter of hurt feelings. It's a matter of revealing what is the truth. And the demonic pattern of conduct is what is speaking to, it is evil. Understand, evil is inherently a communication of hatred, if you did not know that. So one that may not even be able to compute this in your mind, you perhaps may not be able to fathom this, but this is the reality, and this is the reality of my personal situation that is serving for, again, my personal situation happens to be one where I not only do I not have privacy because the government is engaging in surveilling me and stalking and monitoring, but I don't have privacy because my very testimony is used for the purposes of exposing Satan. This is what I am doing, and because it was brought to me, I didn't ask for it, but it is what it is. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my job. And so I also don't have privacy with regard to that. And so why should I be ashamed? It's not me. She is the one that should be ashamed. She is the one that's engaging in what is shameful. Okay. She is engaging in criminal conduct, which you are in no way. You cannot. The pattern of conduct is already established. You are engaging in criminal conduct. And who are you doing it against? You're doing it against the one who you gave birth to. And you think because you one day in November, and I'm not going to go into my birth year and all that. That's already a matter of public information anyway. But one day on my birthday, you gave birth to me. And so because you gave birth to me, you're not engaging in the P.O.C.? That's absurd. 4PTB 982. And also further than that, I'm letting you know what logically falls. I'm breaking down, I'm translating for you so that you may understand the devices of Satan and also understand demonic activity. But moreover, it's not only that. Let me be clear. Demons are true. Based on their outward veneer, they may be acting nice to you. But let me be clear, when you are paying attention, they are demonstrating the truth of their position toward you and their genuine hatred towards you. And Tracy Banks has demonstrated that. Okay? The fact that she's not a genuine mother who actually has loving affection for the person who she brought into the world, and I am her daughter. And that's just a fact. Based on criminal summoning, you're making up information, you're lying with the police, you are engaging in what is the perpetration of a crime against me. You know that I'm an attorney. You know that I'm not a criminal. You know that I didn't engage in what it is that you're alleging with them. This was revealing, understand, while I'm documenting this, I am learning myself about the treachery of Tracy Banks as I witnessed it, and I documented it. I'm not going to not document that. It just happens to be a tragic story that it was Tracy Banks. That's what's tragic about it. 8WJX096. This is serving for what is your information. Satan's devices are not limited to somebody who you think likes you, or who you think loves you, or who you think is loyal to you, or who you think is nice and would never do X, Y, and Z to you. That has nothing to do with it. I've given you the precise formula. There is no respecter of persons. This is about what is the reality of Satan and the way in which you are capable of knowing that which you cannot physically perceive on a person. That is literally Satan hiding in your face, hiding in plain sight, in the environment, hiding in plain sight through people. Satan is deposited, if you will, in people. 6LEW562, pacing with license plate 7XJM975. And so this is how you know that, and it does not change. All right, it does not change with the identity of that actor. The stranger versus the stranger driving an Amazon Prime vehicle, the stranger flying an Amazon Prime plane. All right, the stranger flying an Alaska Airlines plane. The stranger working in the neighborhood liquor store. Versus the minion, and actually she's a stranger because you actually don't know Satan. You don't know. You think that this is your mother. You think that they love you. You think that they're on your side. You think that they will be loyal. You think that they would return to you what you have given them your whole life. Okay, you think that you know them, but you actually do not. They are actually, insofar as another stranger whose name you don't know, they're actually a stranger because you actually don't know the true posture that they maintain towards you and their heart towards you. You only know it when they act it out. And like I said, it is true. You only know them. You know them by their deeds, not by some church that they're attending. That's not a deed. And by deeds, I mean not them giving you $10 here and there, like they're some nice person. I'm talking about the evil that they harbor in their heart. Okay? And you know it when it's revealed, when they're engaging in it. And this is how you're talking about revealing the truth. And let me be clear, the demon-possessed minions themselves, liars, that seek to deceive, Satan that seeks to deceive, will hide behind will refute such statements that I just made, true statements with regard to, well, nobody's perfect and you can't judge me, okay? You know, I make mistakes, and guess what? I'm not perfect either. You've heard me cuss, okay? That's an example of being imperfect, okay? I've had a bad mood before. Guess what? I am imperfect. People get on my nerves. Aside from what our group stalkers, I'm talking about normal getting on my nerves. Before the fact that they were getting on my nerves because I know that you're a freaking stalker. That's getting on my nerves on a whole other level. That's called harassment by an entity engaged in federal stalking. But like I said, just getting on my nerves is being a human being. This is common. That's not what I'm talking about. You're evil. Okay? And this is what Satan doesn't want you to know. And that is a matter of what is objective evidence. So it is no longer some subjective, some connotative term that applies whether you affirm or whether you regard religion or spirituality. It has nothing to do with that. These are scientific facts that we can all agree on, like I said. It is that which is a matter of objective evidence, the environment where Satan is hiding in plain sight. That's how you may know. Anyone is capable of knowing, all right? Your ignorance is your own fault at this point because God has revealed it. And in addition to that, you have what is the conduct of those in that specific environment. The demon-possessed stalk with light. The demon-possessed that stalk with light are going to be prosecuted for that, but the demon-possessed, they stalk with light. And I've referred to it as what is directed light. You can call it whatever you want. It's referred to as, for purposes of my prosecution, for purposes of understanding immediately what is being referenced with regard to criminal conduct, directed light. The demon-possessed stalk with directed light. The demon-possessed are in a demonic environment. That demonic environment is revealed through what is impossible with regard to what you hear, impossible with regard to what it is that is remaining over you, the light that surrounds you, that is surrounding you everywhere that you're going. Okay? It is literally the invasion of what is engineered light that's not even naturally occurring. And with regard to what is a light source, that is as a matter of science, a scientific fact, not possibly the sun. And I've shown you the ways in which you are able to observe it and the ways in which any person can document it. Because documentation is how you're going to establish the prima facie case. That prima facie case is speaking to a pattern that exists throughout the whole state, and that entire state, the people of whatever state, shall be prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a criminal act of the government, and the government is relying on the people. All right. And where you have established that pattern, guess what logically follows? When you establish a pattern, that's speaking to what the pattern happens to be, just one that is just never contemplated before. That doesn't change logic. That doesn't change the operation of the law. Okay. You're talking about what is even more urgent, the fact that the government is engaging in what is a pattern of conduct that is criminal of an American citizen in violation of Title 18, 22618, subsections 1 and 2. And it's also of what is absolute darkness, demonic. That creates an urgency. It's not changing how logic operates. It's not changing how the law operates at all. Okay? So what logically follows with the establishing of a pattern? It happens to be that the pattern is one that involves the environment. The pattern is that the entity is stalking with a light source, facilitating monitoring with communication devices, identifying group stalkers in that environment where you have established what is that pattern. It doesn't matter what the zip code is. That pattern is established. That pattern is belonging to the state. That entire state shall be prosecuted. That entire state. It's the criminal conduct of the government. All right? And it is a matter of justice. This is what Satan is engaging in. And I guess, I'm not even going to guess, engaged in it and still engages in it with impunity, and did so falsely that it would never be known. But you should know, and let me be clear, let me let you know something. Let me speak another truth to you. The truth is, what you do in darkness, what is done in the darkness, it always comes to light. Ever. It will never, ever not come to light. Let me be clear. That is an objective truth. That's not subjective. A lot of people, I studied psychology a lot, and that's why I didn't study psychology, because I find it to be a bunch of subjectivity. All right. It's a lot of BS. Science, the medical profession and all, it's not a science. It's not precise. It is not exact. It's very subjective. And you have minions, by the way, that are in positions in the medical profession, and they can take what is a test that you submit to by their request, and they can turn it out and diagnose you with whatever they want. It's not a science. It is actually, in that regard, serving a criminal system. But let me digress from that. Anyway, you have what is done in the darkness, meaning evil, wrong that you do. It will never, ever, ever remain in that state. It will always be revealed. I just want to paint that picture for you, because that's the truth. And that's just based on the powers that be, whatever you want to call those powers that be. But let me be clear, evil does not win. Evil never wins. Evil does not win. This is conduct of evil. And so I am speaking to, again, like I said, was my dual purpose at the outset. I'm prosecuting, I'm documenting a criminal system. I am also educating, informing, literally providing a tutorial for what is the presence of evil, understanding evil, the personality of evil, contrary to what you see in spooky movies. Evil is necessarily looking weird, and it's carrying its head in its head, and it's wearing dirty clothes, and it's got a bad attitude, and it's cussing all out. No. Let me be clear. Evil is very often very friendly, okay? Evil is very often going by a name that you're very familiar with, okay? Evil is holding your hand and giving you a hug, and the one that you're talking to when you're having a bad day. Evil is very personally acquainted with you, not necessarily the one that you are identifying as, again, on its face, what anyone would identify as an enemy, as one who is holding bad intent for you. That's actually not, that is deceptive. All right, and that's a very superficial definition of understanding evil. The pattern of federal group stalking and monitoring is revealing that. It is, for purposes of prosecution, you're understanding what is, just the unfathomable level of malice that is employed. But you're talking about what is understanding, again, as I stated at the outset, I'm going to say it again, the purpose is also to reveal what is demonic conduct, what is and how is Satan using a people and a government, because that's what federal group stalking and monitoring is. All right, it is a matter of what is public corruption, and it's also what is a matter of literally sickness of a people. And these are just the times that we're in. So that is the reality of what is, again, just what is a matter of what is happening, what has happened, and what I've documented. And the truth of Tracy Banks's character is shown through what she has engaged in, the conduct that she did. Nobody made her do it. She did it. She's the one that engaged in conspiring with the demon-possessed agency, which she is inherently sharing that mutual condition with. Not only the fact that she's in the same demonic environment, she is engaging in what is entirely demonic behavior, okay? This is, I'm just so glad that being born by a person does not mean that you are necessarily subject to that condition. But I do want to be clear. There are more that serve Satan than are not, okay? There are more that are subject to this condition, and this is a matter of eternity. I'm not going to get into all of that, okay? But like I said, demon possession, being a servant of Satan, being a device of evil, however you want to phrase it, demon possession, it's not limited to being over some age of consciousness where you decide you want to serve Satan. There are little kids that are engaging in this demonic conduct, little children with their parents, engaging in the demonic behavioral pattern as I've observed it, all right? Aware of, while they are not physically looking at me, aware of my operation of my communication device, and engage in the demonic behavioral pattern of stalking with activity. They get up and they start looking around, and what they're doing, but when they're looking around, not even necessarily looking around, but they begin, this is literally what I'm referencing this little girl inside of the Fontana Lewis Library. This is a demon. And she engages in literally moving around. But I'm saying looking around because that's specifically what she did. But you don't have to look around. She's engaging in activity creation. She gets up aware of the fact, while she's not looking at me, Okay, she's sitting down stationary. She's making a lot of noise, kicking the desk and whatnot, and monitoring with her mother, a demon, who is using, again, those under the age of majority to engage in the criminal elements of monitoring. This is relevant for the prosecution of the people. But like I said, as I began, again, operating my phone, switching it to camera mode, I'm not looking at her. I'm not even holding it up toward her yet. I began changing the this little demon child begins getting up and just starts moving her body, looking all around. She's creating activity, and she's doing so with simultaneity to what I'm doing on my phone. This is witnessing demon possession. And so, like I said, this is a matter of what is already determined in eternity. Okay, when you're born into the flesh from your mother, that's an afterthought. Well, who you belong to, as with regard to what is light and darkness, it is done data. Okay, so let me I'm speaking of the vernacular. What I'm saying is that this is already known. This is not a mystery. It's just we as human beings have, first of all sorts of theories about that, which, by the way, serve to keep those that are, serve to keep literally people in the darkness, to deceive, in other words. But as I'm revealing, the pattern of conduct is also revealing what is inherent to the P.O.C, and it is the conduct of Satan, the devices of Satan, the methods of Satan, and that which the devices of Satan include people. Okay, and those people are not over the age of 18 necessarily, and they're engaging in the same exact demonic behavior. Okay, and so this is informing of a lot at one time, and I understand that. But this is informative for those who have the ear to hear. For whatever time, for such a time as this, it is that which is supposed to be known. And so that's all that I'm doing, and everything that I'm stating, everything that I say, it is backed up with what is evidence of it. All right. So, like I said, you can't refute what is. You can see what I captured again. Scientific evidence supports the fact that that's not the sun. It's not possibly the sun. Regardless of the fact you see that light source, but I'm capturing what is satanic. That's how I'm capturing what is the light source that we would ordinarily refer to as the sun. But this is when you are ignorant about what actually surrounds you. That's not the natural environment, while a light source remains over me. This is capturing the pattern of conduct, which is a satanic system that's underway, and it's revealing the identification, the condition of every single last person around me. Okay, because that light source that's on that same street you're talking about at Rich's second loan and jewelry. I'm in the car. I'm standing there in front of that building this morning. All right, and I'm there in the evening at that same intersection yesterday evening at 7:04. That is not the sun. And in addition to, that's not the sun, period, point blank. That's the end of that analysis. But I can even go further than that, because I do not remain at that street returning at different times of the day. I'm usually sitting inside of a library somewhere or in a cafe somewhere. And the entity is doing what? It's not remaining over Holt Boulevard at that Rich's second loan. It's remaining over me at whatever venue it is, and then following me back to wherever it is that I go. That is capturing the demonic, all right? And what you're listening to is the demon, 8ZDF742, has been engaging in what is surveillance at the museum. And then they're crossing paths. All right, so like I said, that is capturing what is impossible. And so that is the evidence of everything that I'm alleging. That's based on scientific facts. That's a scientific fact. That's not the sun. That light source didn't go anywhere with regard to what is remaining over me. And I go back to the same thing. I'm there in the morning, I return in the afternoon, and it's also captured there in the evening. That's impossible. That is absolutely impossible. That is capturing what is scientific facts support that as I capture that. License 70147D2. And that's what everyone can agree on. So like I said, we don't have to sit up and discuss religion. But like I said, capturing that impossibility, which science supports what is the documentation of establishing the prima facie case for federal group stalking and monitoring. That demonic environment, because that's what it is. So that let's follow that all the way to the conclusion. Capturing this environment that is impossible to naturally occur based on scientific facts, which support that documentation, revealing it. Okay, this is establishing what is an environment that is, it is properly described. This is an impossible environment. It is an unnatural environment. All right, like I referred to it, it's a cartoon environment. These goofy demons are sitting around stalking. All right, and they're all on a stage, hoping that you don't know about it. So now that you know about it, now you're dealing with what is a psychopath. They're holding the knife in their hand. Blood is dripping on the floor. Okay, they got blood on their shirt, and they're just trying to hide the knife behind their back, and they're smiling in your face. Now that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with the psychopath now. Okay, what you're doing and where you're doing it, how you're doing it is known, and then you're engaging what is the conduct of the psychopath that you are. It's no longer concealed, and that has been the goal from the outset. You need to understand what is demon possession, what is that group stalking system. Psychopaths engage in this P.O.C. 8RXL751 that are let loose in society, and it's demonic activity. It's demonic activity. Life is not about what you think it's about. Life is not about getting a paycheck and being on TikTok and having a whole bunch of fun. Life is not. Those are all distractions, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Satan is trying to distract you while it's keeping tabs on you. Okay, using a bunch of demons that are with the local police department that are monitoring you. Okay, and then pulling you over for a speeding ticket when those demons are stalking you. Okay, they're waiting for you to get over the speed limit so they can pull you over, and it looks like on the face that they had a reason to, while they're actually in reality they don't even have any legal right to do so. They're monitoring you. They're stalking, literally. That's a psychopath. That's a psychopath that is acting as in a way which is entirely malicious, and they're relying on your ignorance. They're relying on the fact that you don't know the environment that you're in, that you don't know anything about demon possession, you don't know anything about, in other words, about the devices of Satan. And this is all centered on what is revealing that system of group stalking and monitoring. And let me be clear, demons are operating these commercial airline planes: Alaska Airlines, Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines. Those are the demon possessed flying those airlines. The demon possessed are driving Ontario police vehicle uniforms. The demon possessed are engaging in what is remaining over me flying by helicopters. Those are demons. Minions of Satan. Alrighty, it is currently 6:54 p.m. And it has been a day of documenting the P.O.C. and the entity as I capture that demonic environment on that one strip of street, and then the entity engages in it again. This is that psychopath, and it just places that fake scent and keeping it right in alignment with me, and keeping it right in alignment with me as I am documenting what is clearly the glaring evidence of what is absolutely an impossible occurrence. All right? And so that ongoing determination is prosecuted as what is an impermissible threat. Every police agency, every company, the people of the state shall be prosecuted for what is that ongoing, perpetually present, impermissible threat, the ongoing threat to the life that the target individual is subject to and has been subject to for however long that the documentation began. The moment you start documentation, and that is directly relevant to the ways in which the entity shall be prosecuted and subject to federal prison, because that's what the impermissible threat is about. It is currently, and why is that? Because the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, based on the nature of the crime of interstate stalking, they're monitoring you, they know exactly what you're documenting, and that's why I went into what the entity started doing, kidnapping me. They started kidnapping me, and then they jumped ahead of the car and they tried to engage in what is addressing me as a crazy person, placing me in the mental ward of a crazy person. But we didn't even have conversation one. So what, I mean, it would have been more effective, if you will, if I would have made allegations, the very allegations of federal group stalking and monitoring that makes you sound crazy. All right, but like I said, it makes you sound crazy because the conduct of the entity is entirely demented. You're stalking with a fake sun. You're molesting with what is light. I mean, and how do you even, even what I'm saying sounds more intellectual than the ordinary target individual would term it. They were not going to use terms like molestation. Light is just touching all over. I can imagine how somebody would, try to jumble their words. Yeah, it's designed to make you sound crazy, and that's unjust. And let me be clear, that is the intent of Satan itself. This is conjured up out of the pit of hell. But it is as a matter of justice, and it shall not be the case that any target individual shall suffer in that regard. Well, you are subject to what is the absolutely maniacal and malicious and entirely wicked and demented and entirely sick pattern of conduct by an entity that is a crazy. The type of crazy that the entity is a psychopath. Psychopaths are aware of what is the right and wrong. They're aware of what is acceptable and unacceptable. They're aware of what they should and should not be doing. They have every intention to continue doing it. 8EHW598, they have every intention to engage in what is any sort of method to engage in that conduct, which is an unlawful threat. That is an unlawful threat when you're monitoring with the government. That's serious. That's serious federal charge. And I'm documenting companies engaging in that. I'm documenting law enforcement agencies engaging in that. I'm documenting the court systems, judges engaging in that. Okay? And they shall be prosecuted and as a matter of justice. Oh, there's no minion that's going to escape justice at all. All right. And with regard to the target individual, that the entity is a violent, sex-offending psychopath stalker is no reflection on the target individual. I am providing what is a way in which you can identify the conduct that you're subject to. All right, I provided the nomenclature for it. It is that demented because the entity is a demented entity. It's not the. It is unjust that the target individual is the one that suffers at the hands of, by the way, Satan, which is just inflicting additional harm. All right, and that's what criminal defamation is all about. And that's a very serious federal charge, which, again, the entity just spits out of their mouth, just flies all out of their mouth, all kind of defamatory. And that's why, because what was that? What was that? Because you're going to federal prison for it. You're going to federal prison for that. And so, like I said, that is the goal. That's the purpose. There is that dual purpose. And so it is currently 6:58 p.m. and I am at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts now, where the entity is keeping that fake sun. And did so, again, it's at the B&G Plaza. It didn't go anywhere, so it's remaining right here. So today there was no moving up Euclid Avenue from the Upland Public Library as I remain there, or remaining over me as I'm at the Fontana Lewis Library, and then as I walk south down Sierra Avenue, and then as I walk west on Orange Way, and then as I sit at the bus stop, and the entity is aiming a directed light onto my person at that train station in the evening in the same way that it's there in that same exact manner in the morning, and then as I'm on the Route 61 bus headed back toward Ontario, street for street, turn for turn, following, okay, molesting onto the bus as though that sunlight that is remaining present in the same way that it is in the morning on the same exact bus route, going in the opposite direction. All right, not today. The entity kept the fake sun as you see it at Shirl's Liquor, remaining right there as I was standing for a prolonged period, going through my analysis at that B&G Plaza, and then keeping it right here while I'm at the museum. And this is where I'm at. So that is P.O.C. and the entity is just keeping that fake sun right there. It is currently, by the way, 7 p.m. And this is P.O.C. All right, so what you see in still images that I captured right now at 7 p.m. on the dot. First of all, directed light and possible light that is underneath the structure of the museum. All right, and touching on the walls underneath the structure, touching all over the building of the museum, and where you see Southwest Airlines flying directly over me, where I am now on the grounds of the museum. Again, migrating as I migrate, flying over my head at the Ontario Village Shopping Center where the Stater Brothers is, where the fake sun is over me, flying over directly over me while I'm at the B&G Plaza, standing in that parking lot where I am on the sidewalk right beside the Andy's Burgers, flying right there over me, and doing so and flying right over me while I'm on that sidewalk that is in between 150 East Holt and the parking garage area in the museum. On that side of the museum, the entity is flying directly over by Alaska Airlines, and right there over me at that location, and right here where I'm standing at the property on the at the courtyard area, if you will, at the area where I was this morning capturing the fake sun over the side of the library, over the side of the museum where I was sleeping. It's where, and you can see it in still images, that's exactly where Southwest Airlines is hovering in a plane. They're doing so while directed light is present, and the fake sun, as I've already shown, remains present. This is always the case. I'm literally down to what is just showing you where I'm at, because the entity is already established as engaging in stalking with light, and you are looking at what our group stalk is, and that's Southwest Airlines, and I'm showing you what is, again, what they're doing is stalking from place to place, literally using airplanes to do it. This is the same government that's stalking by helicopter. As I'm showing you the people of the state, and I'm reminding you in my videos and my images and on my podcast, that is the government that's stalking by helicopter, and that's what you need to understand in your mind. You need to get that picture. That government, that is the government, the people of the state. Southwest Airlines is stalking on behalf of the government. They're using a commercial airline plane instead of a helicopter. That's what you need to understand. And I'm also breaking down for you literally what they're doing. From location, you see they're hovering over me in that parking lot of Ontario Village, on that specific sidewalk beside Andy's Burgers, on that specific sidewalk between the 150 East Holt Boulevard building, the county, the parking garage, and the museum, on that very sidewalk by Alaska Airlines, and on the property at the courtyard area of the museum where I stand by Southwest Airlines group stalking over me, following, migrating as I move. The entity doing the same thing while I'm in vehicles, all right? By commercial airline planes doing the exact same thing while I'm in different cities doing the exact same thing. It is the P.O.C. That's what group stalking is, using planes, using helicopters, using the demons of the state that act directly, police, fire, and ambulance, and the court system itself. Those are state actors as well. But again, the court is typically a venue. But that's a state facilitating venue where you shall not get any justice. The entity is engaged in facilitation of that system. It serves for what is obstruction of justice. And also, it's not just the police, it's also the sheriff's departments. But they are law enforcement in general. So that's under that umbrella of law enforcement. But I just want to make sure I specify that. That's what I documented right now. That's what Southwest Airlines is engaging in. And that is, again, the people of the state. In the same way, the minions that are sitting inside of the libraries, those are the minions that are flying planes, stalking the people of the state. okay, in that specific environment, engaged in that obsessive stalking, and doing so, Southwest Airlines group stalking with the Ontario Police Department. On behalf and in concert with the Ontario Police Department. It is currently 7:03 p.m. And by the way, Southwest Airlines engages in what is interstate commerce routinely by virtue of its business, and they are crossing state lines with the intent to place another under surveillance. That's existing federal law. And that goes for Alaska Airlines, Delta Airlines, Amazon Prime, all of those planes as I document. This is P.O.C. It's currently 7:04 p.m.